Laredo, take us out.
Take her out.
All right! Blast off! Take flight each and every Friday night. Join the fun and let's go off-world. Geek out with us live where the nerdiness will thrive. Buckle up and let's go off-world. Toys, comics, pop culture news, movies and so much more. Matthew, Jesse, Curtis, and Sean are your guides on this fun-filled tour. Blast off! Take flight each and every Friday night. Join the fun and let's go off-world. Let's go off-world. Let's go off-world. Hey, hey, hey! Let's go off-world tonight.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to OffWorld Season 1, Episode 8. We got Secret Invasion. We got Marvel series. We've got so much going on tonight.
Movies and so much more.
I can already see how excited Curtis is. He's, up to the roof.
Got my something about Mary on.
Welcome, Andrew. Welcome, Billy Beige. Thanks for joining us. Who else we got here tonight?
I'm Jesse. I'm over here in this space.
That's Jesse. I'm Curtis, and this is
Sean, and this is
Hi, I'm Matt. That's Jesse. That's Curtis. We'll get this one these days, guys.
Did you just point to Sean both times?
Yeah, and over to my cat Felix. So,
What's your cat feeling?
Felix.
Oh,
Felix
ew.
the cat.
Oh,
I'm sorry that my cat offends you. Not more of a dog guy.
I was just wondering what he was licking that you were talking about.
No, he's sleeping.
I'm very confused by the words you're saying.
Do you think Jesse might be a scroll tonight? Is that what's going on?
that might be it.
I mean, Shin's.
We definitely won't see him use any of his superpowers or mech suits, though. That's for sure.
Oh, we'll get to that. How we doing, boys? It's been a minute. We did not, for the first time ever, we skipped a week. I think everybody just needed a rest. I'm not on off weeks normally anyways, but yeah, how's everyone feeling?
I feel like that's on me, and I feel like I got to explain because I did, there was a Jeremy DeWitt called us out because the song says each and every Friday night. Yeah. And I was the one that kind of initiated the, hey, let's not do one last week. So I just kind of want to let everybody kind of know what went into that. So we've got a good friend of our show, Oz, does another show. And he was doing a Legions class the Saturday before. And, he's like, hey, you want to join us for, a Legions class? And I love doing that because Jesse and Sean are on there, and they're two of my friends, and I really enjoy spending time with them.
And
then I get there and find
loves
out
getting on any and every show he possibly
this is true.
can,
this is true
because he cannot get enough of himself.
Yeah. So I get in there and I find out that Jesse's not there because Jesse had worked that day a lot and was just tired. And I'm like, okay, well, this is kind of a bait and switch. And then like 30 minutes into the episode, Sean just disappears. He's just gone. Like no comment, no hey, like just gone. And I'm like, oh shit, something happened to Sean. His power went out, his internet or whatever. And I'm like, message him to make sure he's okay. He's like, nah, just was kind of tired, not really feeling it. Like, all right. So going into this past Friday, I'm like, all right, Jesse's going to be late because of D&D. Dooch is going to, dooch out because it's an off week and he doesn't show up. Yep. Sean, I think, is kind of burned out a little bit. And I just don't know that I want to monologue for 2 hours. Even though that's normally my thing, I just didn't think that was going to work. So decided to do a off week take off week, a vacation off week. So hope everybody's okay with that. Sean, would you feel like that's an accurate description of how things occurred?
I mean, yeah. For me, I took on extra work last month, last month, and so I had like more on my plate than normal. I was really just working too much. And then like you said, it like the night when we went on the Legion's class episode, they were focusing a lot on the customizer side of things, which you are a good person to talk to about that, working with Wolf King, talking with Jeremy Gerard, and being, a part of the community. I had nothing to offer that conversation at all. So me being burnout, and then on top of that, really just sitting there like when we did our Clone Wars episode, I was like, I'm not doing a Clone Wars episode 2. I'm just I need to do this. And I appreciated that you reached out, but that night I just was I'm not doing a second version of that, and this is my free time I'm doing it in. And they were talking, well, it would have been, we could have talked about the history of the Four Horsemen. Well, they glanced over that to go right to the customize. I'm like, I don't know what to talk about. So yeah, I was burnt to a crisp by that point. And yes, I did need the break. So yeah.
Joe says he felt so betrayed. Yeah. I just pictured Joe sitting there staring at YouTube for 2 hours, just hoping that
it's that meme, right? It's the guy in the backyard and sitting on the bench and like staring out over the pool.
Yeah.
He just kind of wandered around his house, like
he's rewatching old episodes.
Isn't that supposed to be like a drug lord in those videos?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, he is Gonzalez, so I mean, that's
he likes to watch. It's like his weekly fix.
Wait a sec. What did you just say?
I love how we glossed over that.
The thoughts, comments, and feelings of Matthew Beach do not necessarily represent those of anyone else in this podcast
it's all
or
right,
the channel.
It's okay. My wife's Mexican, so it's fine.
Oh, this wife that we've never seen.
My best friend is black. It's okay.
Exactly. You get it, Curtis.
Here's my get out of jail. I have a black friend card.
Joe, how do you feel now?
The dude's profiling, like. Right here.
Well, Curtis did think I was a cop for many years. So
well, we started that off with a bang. Sorry, Joe.
Yeah.
I love Joe.
He's
one of the good ones.
I gotta say, I did.
Oh my god!
Wow, it just keeps getting worse. It just keeps getting worse.
You're really well spoken for.
I will say I did miss talking to you guys. This is fun.
I love you, Joe. I can't resist a good joke. I'm sorry, but we love you, Joe.
Can you resist the bad ones too?
No, none of them. I can't tell the difference.
Oh my god!
I don't see good joke, bad joke. I only see jokes.
All right. Moving on. This is gonna get.
You throw enough of them out there.
He doesn't see problems with jokes, but he sees many colors, and then he's gonna address them all in the episode as we go tonight.
It's been a fun run, guys. Let's make this a good last episode.
Hey, gotta go out with a bang, right?
We made it through 7 numbered episodes.
You said bang. I feel
the
like
lucky 7th on the 8th when we just crash and burn in 5 minutes. This is amazing.
See, Joe loves this.
Yeah,
he gets it.
I think Joe just spent last week listening to my waffle stomp story over and over again.
All right, guys. What did we get this week? Anything? Anybody?
Starting with who?
Whoever has got anything. I got nothing. So
Jesse,
got something? I'll unpick you if you do. Here we go. Oh, you did pick up
nice.
Dollar Store Rogue. Nice.
It wasn't Dollar Store, but it's.
That's the. I'd like to talk to the manager robe.
It's for a $10 5 POA or 8 POA, whatever the heck it is. Like it's It's better than any of the stuff I ever had of Rogue in the 90s. I'll say that much.
Are you taking
Well,
it out of the
yeah,
package, or are
I'll
you
give you
not
that.
taking it out of the package?
No, I think I'm gonna, just because. I mean, I'll get the full size Marvel Legends one when it comes out, which is essentially the same costume.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I'll probably just hang that up with like one of the old 90s toys that I have on the
Gotcha.
shelf.
Nice.
If I come across another one, maybe I'll pick it up down the road. And then yesterday I picked up.
Oh
There it
yeah,
is.
yeah.
My
The
must-
Cosmic
Morga-
Fever.
Show off that
Uh,
tat. Heck yeah.
But
Mhm.
Cosmic Fever, but I'm already working her into Mythos with some weapons and tabard, waist
Oh.
piece, and
Oh no, still in. Yeah.
Yep.
the
Second
sexy Sphexian.
sexy.
Now he
specs.
didn't come with the spear and the sword.
No,
right?
the spear and the sword. Again, I'm working my cosmics.
Yeah, just
the
checking.
QA will get into mythics, so I just thought it would be funny to give him those orc scimitars in his little rib cage hands.
I'm just gonna throw all mine in with my mythics and not even change anything about them. So, actually, Kragnar might even go in with my Masters of the Universe. So
Such a
That'd be
barbarian.
fun.
We're not talking about you right now, Matt.
everything's about me.
Yes, Billy, I am talking about the tiny $10 X-Men cartoon figures. That's what that was.
Beautiful.
And the best thing about this packaging, Gambit is all the way over. Where's my finger? Here.
Is he touching
There's
Wolverine's butt?
Well,
There's a
He's-
whole Wolverine between him and Rogue.
But
I'd
he's still
watch
in the
that.
package, which means he's one of the top 5 X-Men. So I'm okay with that. I'm good.
Wait, show me that package again.
I don't want to show you my package again.
Show me your
Whoa.
package, damn it. Okay, Cyclops is there. Okay. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, you gotta have the Boy Scout there.
Yeah.
My turn. So I got like approximately 1 million clones from Jesse. I'm not gonna show because they're in my DTOF. And yeah, I just fit them all in there today. But appreciate it, Jesse. You're awesome. Then I want to show off. Got a couple more things.
You'll embiggen him when he's not showing anything off.
I thought he was reaching for something.
I am now. This is the Mafex Magneto. And I just love this. And he's fallen over.
No!
Yeah,
Oh,
their
please don't ever
stands
make
are
that
not
sound
the
again.
best. So their flight stands are not the best. But
You got to tighten
yeah.
it up with a screwdriver.
Yeah, I know. He comes with 3 different heads. He's got a helmeted head, a helmetless head, where he can hold the helmet. Then he's got the one with just like his regular face underneath, and then they've got this one which is like the shadow, more comic booky face, I guess, or blackface if you're the dude you want to call it that. But yeah, I just really like that figure. I'm not doing a whole lot of the villains, but I wanted to get like 5 of what I consider to be the main X-Men villains, and obviously Magneto's number 1. So,
Nice.
and then I got
What's a Magneto?
What's a Magneto?
I'm sorry, I'm just quoting one of the worst movies that have ever been made.
Oh, gotcha. I got a couple of these
What movie
crates
is that?
from Brian Almeida, these weapons crates that he did. And I wanted to show, because I don't think he mentioned it in his post, but if you get more than one, they actually do like lock into each other so that, you can, I mean, it's not like it doesn't snap in, but it fits inside there and kind of holds steady. So they are stackable, which is really cool. And then he's got 2 options. This one is like the steel painted one, but he also does just one that's like just black. But then you open it up, you've got your sniper rifle. Then you've got that.
You put those weapons in there, or they
Yeah,
came?
this is the weapons from the weapons pack.
Okay.
But he's also got these things in here that he is calling grenades. I thought they were just really cool looking. Like the Jesse, what's the shit that Ziri was the like found the you know what I'm talking about, that stuff.
Oh, Slug's pimp juice. It's
Yeah.
like xylophone or something like that.
Threxium or something.
Yeah.
Anyways, I thought this kind of would be cool for that, like the Threxium. But I think he's calling them grenades. And he's got multiple colors on there. So I got one blue and one green one, which I don't know if you're going to be able to see that, but it opens up really cool. It's got it's got actual like magnets, some steel parts, some plastic parts. This thing is really super well constructed. And then it just folds all back up. So you know that side goes in, this side, flip that over, and then that. And then, like I said, they will stack on top of each other if you get more than one. So being as I'm building out that Sentry army, I thought this would be kind of a nice little add-on to those Sentries, and really cool. So reach out to, I didn't mean to do that. Reach out to Brian Almeida if you're interested in those.
How much did those run you?
I got the two of them. I want to say for the 2 plus the grenades, and there's also like an insert for the grenades. I think all in with shipping was like $125. Okay. So, but I think from what he said, I think he's going to be at PowerCon. So I don't know if he's going to be selling these at PowerCon, but I know he's going to be there. But like I said, reach out to him if you're interested. But these things are really well designed. So
I'm riding out with him. He's not setting up a table as far as I know.
Oh, okay.
You might be able to
We're just
set
going,
up a handoff, though.
Gotcha.
Joe wants to know if I'm going to make a Jew joke. No, I'm not.
Wow, you had to bring that up?
I'm not married to a Jew, so that would be insensitive, Joe.
God. Oh, my God.
Wow.
And Billy Beige says that there's space meth in there.
You know, I don't know what it is about the word sniper rifle, but like you say that twice and it immediately hits that semantic satiation where like the word loses meaning. Like sniper rifle, like it's that
semantic satiation. Like
where you say a word so many times it loses its meaning. Like it doesn't.
Yeah, this is OffWorld. You can't use like big words like that, Jesse. Like we don't know.
That was 2 words.
You got it. Yeah, but they're big. Yeah, like satiation.
Semantic
satiation. You have to.
Yeah, you got it
down to his level.
It was in an episode of Ted Lasso. I'm surprised you.
Monosyllabic. Come on, let's keep it monosyllabic. And that's not, which is
fun of
well, you know
Europeans.
what? That's weird that the word monosyllabic is so long. That's crazy. Mm-hmm. So
I believe that's called irony.
Sniper rifle.
Irony.
Yeah, I think that's just you. Sniper rifle doesn't do that for me. I can't think of a word. I know what you're talking about, but it doesn't do it.
Like just hearing Curtis say it when he opened that, I was like, it's like
and you could put
butter on hot noodles.
Your little wrist guns in here too, so you can really fit like everything in there. I love it. Big fan.
I like keeping my wrist guns out of sight.
All right. In fact, I did have to order an extra. I only had one weapons pack from the All In. I had to order an extra weapons pack so that I could put it into the second crate because I didn't think about that when I ordered the extra crate.
Because you couldn't just, split up the weapons you had and just have
crates
partially full.
Of a good 3D parts maker is it makes you buy more of the original toy.
Yeah. Well, the science officer comes with 2 of the pistols, but he doesn't come with the sniper rifle. The Sentry comes with a sniper rifle and like the bigger gun, but he doesn't come with the pistols. So it's not like if like each of them came with everything, then yeah, you would end up with a whole bunch of extras. But I don't have I thought about that, Dooch, but I just don't have a whole lot of extras, even when my rest of my order comes in to where I can put that in there. So I just got one extra weapons pack. I just called Len. I said, "Hey, you got weapons pack?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I just didn't put them on the site because I didn't know that if anybody would buy them because of the retail price is so high." I was like, "Well, I need one." So,
fair enough.
So that's what I got. Sean?
Thrixium, Billy Beige has confirmed.
Thrixium. Space meth.
I have not paid attention to the Cosmic Legion story at all.
Did you know there's lore for Mythic Legions, Matt?
I did. There's some
There's
for
a-
Cosmic
there-
Legions,
there are a
but I'm
couple.
just throwing out ahead of time. I have not paid attention to any of that, so I know none of this story. I'm just buying figures that look cool. I'm going to throw them with my other figures that look cool.
I
What
learned
story?
about that there was lore for Mythic Legions when Jeremy lashed out at Dooch, and
Yeah.
like, you know,
That's a good episode. That's my favorite
Yeah.
episode.
yeah.
Actually, that's a lie. That's my second favorite episode. My favorite episode was when Jesse.
So would that
went on
be?
with
Did
him.
Dooch get a Gerarding? Is that what you would call that?
Yes.
Yes.
He totally got Gerarded.
So, and those are actually the only 2 episodes of Jeremy's show I've ever watched. Was
Nice.
Jesse's and the one that he lashed out at me. So.
You know, I've been on Jeremy's show a few
Yeah, I know.
times. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Sean, what did you get?
Gotcha.
I got a whole bunch of pre-orders. I'm waiting to come in. So unfortunately, money is out, but nothing has come in yet. Hopefully, I'll be getting some Cosmics. Hopefully next week, maybe the week after. We'll see. And I did a pre-order today of something that was a surprise. So that'll be cool. Come November, I hope.
Like you surprised yourself?
No, I was surprised. I had no idea that the thing I'm pre-ordered was going to be even, real until today.
What'd you
So
pre-order?
that's something we're going to talk about later.
Oh, we're
I
talking
Yeah.
about it later.
Or now.
Or we could talk about, I don't care which, but it was to our friends over at the Euro Legions podcast. We have a chat, and all of a sudden Richard's like, "Hey, did you notice this?" And I'm like, "Well, son of a bitch, here we go." So yeah.
And much like much like nature in Jurassic Park, Sean's wallet finds a way.
Oh, Klarna, I'm telling you, I gotta just run with this name. I feel like Klarna should be like, "Hey, you know what? You could be our person," and I'll be like, "Yeah, I'll prove to people how stupid they can be with their fine." Fine. Oh, yeesh.
I did not pick up anything, but I did finally open up my Mondo Shira and posed and played with her. And probably my favorite Mondo, to be quite honest with you. They did I don't have her near me or I grab her, but they did a bang up job on her. Really great details, and I had no problem with the posing or anything like
When
that.
you back your She-Ra figure, what?
Yeah, you heard me right.
Speaking of playing with She-Ra, I saw some screen grabs this week of Sean watching a few different things on the internet. That was a little odd. I don't know, Sean. You got anything that you want to comment? It seems like you've been pretty popular on the internet this past week.
I blame my daughter for walking in at wrong times. Let me tell you that. She's just taking all these blackmail photos of me. And I'm fortunate enough to be in these groups where there's so many people that like me and go, "Save that image. We're going to use it later." And suddenly I'm like, yeah, I did not think that through, did I? No. So, yeah. But yes, if you take away the actual story of that show and you just have that moment, I'm good with that.
I will tell you that when I saw that picture, when I saw that post that you did, I looked at it and immediately I go, "This is a perfect meme template. Like this is just too good."
I'm that new old guy holding the coffee, and I'm that guy.
Yeah.
Only now it's me, and you can see whatever craziness is on my screen, which I'm just waiting for the gay porn ones, because that one I'm like, that's an easy one. So I guess Curtis has a little more logistical way of doing it. He's not going for the easy hanging stuff. No, he's going for Netflix She-Ra, or he's going for Skype calls with him in the shower where he's lather, rinsing, and repeating while I get to comment on the work he's doing. So yeah,
the man.
I admire that. At least he's at least being more creative than just putting in porn right there. Boom, that's it. So.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually, after you sent that out to the internet, Curtis, I did message Sean, and I'm like, the only thing that pisses me off is that I had the exact same idea as soon as I saw that picture, but I did not have a chance to do it before you beat me to it. So, yeah.
Yeah,
That'll
that
be
just comes
around.
with not having much to do. I was on vacation this week, so I had plenty of time to work on some of that.
The best thing was I actually showed my kids the Curtis version. The one with the shower. I go, hey, look what my friend from my podcast did, and they just looked at him and they just started howling, laughing. I'm like, that's the response you wanted too. There you go, kids. There you go.
Beautiful.
Oh, I love it.
Speaking of kids, my daughters before the show tonight decided that they wanted to do my hair for the show. So I sat here in the living room and they messed with my hair for like, what was it, about an hour or so? About an hour. And it is like rock solid. Like this is not going anywhere. So I'm going to have to like shower for 2 hours after this trying to get this out, which is good because there's a new Euro Allegiance podcast to listen to. So.
Yeah, there you go.
There
you go.
You know what it is? It's not even something about Mary. It is Ferris Bueller when he's in the shower.
Yeah.
That's
it
what
is.
it is.
It is.
It's perfect for you.
They were like, "What do you
I
think?"
mean-
I was like, "Oh, well, you could brush it out a little bit. It's a little stiff." And they're like, "No, it's good." I'm like, "Okay, all right."
I'm just waiting for you to like tuck into a ball and start like spinning around the track collecting rings.
Yeah, no, I'm not tucking into my balls.
I'd watch that.
Did we want
Curtis
to
the
do?
Hedgehog.
I know Sean had brought up maybe some San Diego Comic-Con stuff. Did we want to talk about that before we do this week in theaters or after?
Oh, I thought we were going right into that kind of stuff. That's why I was trying to set him up with his pre-order, but he didn't take the bait.
Sean, your baby, anything from San Diego Comic-Con you would like to discuss or throw out there that we can chat about real quick?
So I was surprised more than anything that now Mondo has that PowerCon Trapjaw version that it is the Filmation colors. They've redone the face so he looks more Filmation-esque. He gave him the fur loincloth instead of the more samurai-looking one or whatever. I always thought that looked more samurai on the traditional Mondo one. So that was a surprise. I know this weekend Curtis even was like, "What's this all about?" when he saw some of the photos being posted and stuff. So that was interesting that they're now doing the PowerCon exclusive that way.
If just real quick on that one, if they would have put out both versions like initially, or at least hinted at both versions, I'm not sure which one I would have wanted because I'm really fond of the Filmation color scheme. But the black is really like has that cool factor. So I'm not sure which one I would have chose. I definitely don't need both. And at this point, since I've already ordered the black one, I don't feel the need to order the Filmation style one. But I do think it's really cool. I don't know are either of you guys tempted by that at all?
No,
I know Jesse's not, but
I'm not tempted by it, but I also wasn't tempted by the first Trapjaw. Like, I love Trapjaw, but Mondo is definitely one where I'm like, I've got to keep it to my must-haves, and Trapjaw just is not one of those.
Oh, wow.
But if I were to get one, and if I had both options, the Filmation one would be the one that I would order.
Gotcha.
Yeah. For me,
the loincloth especially, I know Sean touched on it, but that little tweak just makes a world of difference to me.
Yeah.
Sean, you say you like the black one?
I always want to do the toy version of it because I when they did them in Filmation with the more like I don't want to call it pink because it's not like straight pink, but I don't know, whatever magenta-ish or whatever color that he is on his armor. It didn't work for me as a kid. He looked more evil as the black armor version in my opinion. So I've always been more in that vein with that character. But that, and then we did the episode a couple episodes back, numbered episodes that is, where we talked about the toy lines from our past that they haven't really caught back on, and the fact that Marvel Legends is now doing a Crystar figure, and that was one of my choices, was completely like, holy, this is happening. That's like, I don't expect all the figures from the original line, but the fact that now they have that, I'm like, well, geez, that's pretty sweet. So that's something. And then I don't. Do you want a sequel of your Silverhawks, or do you not?
Go ahead, man. Do your thing. Do your worst.
No, I'm just asking because I know that was not the the news you wanted to hear from. It's like everybody was happy,
It's
but then
just-
everybody was like, "Ah, you bastards!" at the same time. So
I mean, I'm happy that we will get them, and I will be buying them because I
For
do
the-
like the way those look.
For those who don't know, somehow have not seen this or heard this, we're talking about the recently unveiled VAC Metal Silverhawks that were shown from Super 7, even though Brian Flynn has been adamant that's not even possible. There's no possible way. It'll never happen. And he is a fucking liar. So I don't even collect Silverhawks. And it pissed me off that he pulled this crap. So
That's pretty much the gist of it. So I do like them. I will be buying them, but I'm just not happy about it. And then they did also show the Cat's Lair, which I am not. I'm not all in on Thundercats. I did get a couple of them, but it's not something I feel like I need to be all in on. I will say that is the coolest looking playset I've ever seen. Like it's pretty spectacular.
not only that it looks so cartoon accurate, but then like they put like the mountains on the side of it to number one give the inside more space. But then just from the outside, it just makes it look so much cooler. I have 0 Thundercat figures, and even there's a part of me that's like, I should get that. I don't know what I'm going to put with it, but like it would just look amazing.
You can put your Ghostbusters in it.
Well, it'd probably be Mythic Legions, honestly, if I was going to do anything with it.
That's a little too close to home. You might want to rethink that.
But yeah, it's beautiful. And the price, was it like $750 shipped in the US?
$650. I think it's $650 with shipping, isn't it?
I thought it was $650 and $100 shipping.
Oh, it might be
in the US. Like they phrased it
I
really
just saw the
weird.
$650 price. I didn't know if that included shipping or not.
But I mean, that's cheaper or as cheap as Snake Mountain was. Like,
Yeah, Snake Mountain was pretty much the same price. So
$650 is the price.
this is going to be taller than Snake Mountain, but I don't think it's as wide as Snake Mountain when it's open anyway. So
Yeah, I mean, just seeing the figures in front of it, I know some people somehow complained about,
Snake Mountain is thick.
Snake Mountain is big, and I know this won't
that's
fit
not what I
the
said.
Thunder Tank in there in the paw, but yeah, it's
yeah, but I did think it was cool that they still engineered where the paw does lift up, and they've got like a laser cannon in it and stuff. So at least you still get that action of the paw opening up and something inside of it. But I think to make it the size to where the Thunder Tank would fit inside, that thing would have been like fucking 12 foot tall. So
domestic shipping is 100. So yeah, it's 650 plus 100 in the US, 350 shipping to Canada. I can't even imagine what the rest of the world would be, but I'll bring up these pictures as long as I have it up here.
The rest of the world would be outside the United States, man.
I'm talking about shipping price. I love you, Jesse. But yeah, it's freaking amazing.
Oh, hey, cool. We're showing pictures of the stuff we were talking about for the last 10 minutes.
You got the early bird exclusive. Yeah,
I love you, Jesse.
All that. Who invited Jesse? But then even this inside with like the council table and the chairs and everything, like it's just.
You mean the
spoons? Yeah, I
spoons?
love that like command center with the big like monitor and everything.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
The spoon chairs are my favorite part.
I mean, look at that. Lino comes up to the top of the paw. Like, that's just freaking.
Yeah, it's really cool looking. Like I said, I'm not in on Thunder. If I was in on Thundercats, even if I wasn't all in, but if I was collecting most of them, I would probably have to get this. But I only have 2 at this point, and I do not need to get this because then it will make me buy a whole bunch extra figures that I don't need. So
yeah, and even on the mountains there, I forgot about that. Like, there's actually ledges so that you can display figures on them. Like, it's really well done.
Who's your ledges, Zaddy?
Nice.
Jesse, have you been?
That was a little bit of a stretch.
It was, but I like it. I like drunk.
That's the only kind of stretching I do.
And from looking at it, it looks like it's off to a pretty decent start as far as funding. I
Yeah.
think it will fund because it runs through like September something, but it's definitely not going to hit like the early goals. Like there is, yeah.
Yeah, we're at 2,241 right now.
Yeah, but it's got to
Funding
hit.
is 3,000. So
Yeah,
What is
but
this
that's
wee bullshit?
but that's got to hit that within the next 2 days, and I don't see that happening. So we'll see.
So yeah, if the goal's met by July 30th, you get the exclusive key. At 4,000 backers, you get the Sword of Omens, a Claw Shield, and a lab set. Why do you need another Sword of Omens and a Claw Shield? Didn't that come with Lion-O already?
Well, that's the one that when you actually do thunder, it grows, and yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Okay. And then at 5,000 backers, you get the Astral Projection Lion-O.
Which is a cool idea, but when you look at it, it's I don't know. I'm not sold because you can see like all the articulation points. It kind of kills the illusion of the translucent, in my opinion.
Yeah, that is weird. Man, unless that's just like a mock-up, maybe, and the production will look better because you should be able to make translucent figures without seeing the joints as obvious as that. I mean,
if you do it without color, I think you're more likely to get away with that, like with Hagnon. But when you start putting color to it like this,
I mean that's clearly a very photoshopped image with the background because it all looks like it's glowing. So like it's I mean it won't look like that specifically in real life.
Yeah, I don't think so. Because
anything else from San Diego Comic-Con that you guys saw? I know I had some. There was a lot of cool Mafex stuff, specifically the Reign of Superman stuff. I'm really excited about. They got an Eradicator and Superboy coming. They do have several other things for Mafex, but those are the two that really caught my eye. But anything else from last weekend that you guys were either surprised by or happy for?
Real quick, back on that. Billy brings up a good point. Marvel Legends Crystar has different colors, and it does not look like that. So
okay,
yeah, just to give you a little bit of hope.
Mm-hmm.
This is the point in the show here where I actually wanted to play Legends of Grayskull episode 104 because that's where me and Sean broke down all the master stuff that we're excited for. I was vetoed for some reason, but yeah. So if you guys want to hear the stuff I'm most excited about, go check out episode 104 of Legends of Grayskull. So.
Yeah, I've actually gone back and watched all the ones that you got on YouTube, and I have to say you have at the very least one good episode. So that's cool.
I don't think you've watched our most recent episode though. Just
no, I've not seen the most recent one.
And I did drop the link in the chat there too, so in case you guys
beautiful
want to go and save it for later.
Maybe I'll listen to that when I'm showering for 2 hours after the show instead.
I love it.
Good Lord, is there like a drought going on? Save some water.
I think the only other one that I can think of off the top of my head quick was the fact that and I don't collect the G.I. Joe classified line, but it is cool to see the Dreadnoughts are finally making an appearance. So for anybody in classified that wanted those for a while, there you go. That's pretty. At least two of them they revealed. So
that's cool.
And I know I can't find it now.
They had that motherboard too. I don't know. I'm sure you guys probably talked about that.
We talked about that. Yeah.
Somebody in the chat brought up earlier the Hasbro Ghost for
Star
Wars. You guys are Star Wars guys. What's that doing for you?
That's Joe. Making me wish I had more money so I could have less money.
Yeah, that's how it works.
That's the one ship I want, like of all ships. But yeah, I just.
And that's a HasLab. Is it a HasLab or is it just?
It's a HasLab. It hit funding a couple days ago, I think. So it is happening.
3 3/4, right?
Yeah, it's vintage collection scale.
I just got done watching Rebels. I will say it's a really cool ship. I have no need for it, but it is cool. So I do like it.
Jesus.
And
Almost
then
a
this is the
thousand
part of the show
over.
where Jesse and I talk about Rebels for an hour, and Sean goes to sleep. So
I liked her. Rebels was probably my favorite modern Star Wars series. So I binged the hell out of that, and I have not ever been able to make it through Clone Wars, if that tells you anything. So
yeah, it just tells me that you don't have patience. You give up on things before they actually get good. You did that with Elizabethtown.
Yep.
You did it with Clone Wars. Like you have no patience to stick it out, because I will say the last two seasons of Clone Wars is by far the best Star Wars. So it's not even close. Rebels doesn't even touch it. So just FYI. But you got to get through the early kid shit to get to it.
Oh, it's so bad.
So I will say Bad Batch is good right from the start. I love Bad Batch. So all right. We ready for this?
That was an intense movie. All like the cannibals and all that weirdness.
Yeah, I'm talking about the cartoon Bad Batch.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, I love this. So, for our next segment, we're actually gonna rip off a very well-known podcast, and we're gonna do This Week in Theaters, made popular by the My Wife Is Gonna Kill Me boys.
Yeah. Original idea by Pete McCarthy.
Yep. It just came to him.
Oh, I thought this was the no, don't put that there segment.
No,
it's a different segment. We do that after we go off the air.
me and Sean play that privately every.
Just a tip, just for a second, just to see how it feels, or ouch, you're on my hair. Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
So,
Sean
Jesse,
or Dooch, you want to pull up your menu, and Jesse, you want to roll a die?
if I can remember how to hit buttons, absolutely. Here we go, that button. Yep.
Jesse doesn't
It's
look
your
like
one
he's reaching
job.
for his die.
I have lots of
Already
jobs.
in my hand.
Nice.
Let's get.
Well, we're not doing that. That was a natural one.
Oh,
So
So for those of you who are new to the show, I will spin this wheel that has every year
They
from
don't care.
1980 to 2000 on it. Curtis will then pull up that year this week in the movie theaters, and we'll decide what we want to go see if Jesse ever finishes rolling.
wow. I mean, if you would have like not gone on like an hour-long monologue there, I would have told you the number is 9.
9.
6,
Nine.
9, 6.
9. It's 9.
9. So
Okay.
I'm going to go down.
This
I'm going
one.
to do 9 seconds. And not that anybody cares.
If this
but
gives
I
us
did-
1988 again, I'm signing off.
Well, I was going to say, I know it has been pointed out that we keep kind of landing in around the same years. So I did randomize the order of the years before I had them all in order from 1982 to
gotcha.
2000. So I randomized that. So hopefully that will mix up.
It'll be 1988.
It's going to be 1988
Come on,
again.
88.
Ah!
80.
So
What is it?
close.
89.
All right.
Ooh, July of 89. This could be
Okay, let's see what we got.
interesting.
So we're doing weekly. Let's go to 89. And we are looking for July 28th was the beginning of a new week. Let's see what we got. We've got number 1 at the box office, Turner and Hooch.
Okay.
Lethal Weapon 2, Batman, When Harry Met Sally, Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, License to Kill, Indiana Jones and Last Crusade, Dead Poet Society, and Peter Pan. I thought this was going to be a rough week with the leading off of Turner and Hooch, but the rest of them pretty good. We will start with Sean and work our way up this time. Sean, what are you seeing?
Like I saw the main ones in the theater that I wanted to see for this week, but I think I'd go for Last Crusade out of all of them now.
Okay.
All right. I really do, because that one probably is my favorite of the original trilogy. And I mean, I always thought that the father-son dynamic, that was pretty much me and my dad. So I loved watching that movie because I love that they made fun of it. I love that they got to argue about it. I love that there was resolution with it. And on top of that, I always thought that Dr. Schneider was probably the hottest woman he hooked up with in any of the movies. Yes, she was a Nazi. No, that is not good, but damn was she hot. So yeah, there you go.
Okay. I will agree. I think that the Indiana Jones and Last Crusade is the best of the original trilogy. And that one is kind of pulling at me, but I gotta go Batman. Like original Batman, Keaton, just to sit in a theater again and experience that again on the big screen. Yeah, I gotta go Batman. Jesse?
I'm gonna go with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Just because I remember seeing, I mean, I saw that and Indiana and Last Crusade in the theater when they were out. And there was just something magical about seeing that movie on the big screen. And granted, I know I'd be going back as an adult if, you know, that's the whole concept of this, but I just remember loving that movie so much and just being blown away by like all like the giant sets they made to make the kids look like they were a quarter of an inch tall and everything. So, and it's been a long time since I've watched it. So right now, that's the one I'd want to see on the big screen again. And for those of you who don't know Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, it's about Rick Moranis is the scientist that's tinkering in his attic, and he makes this like shrink ray that accidentally goes off and shrinks his kids when they're supposed to be like doing other stuff. And then like the neighbor's kids are going on vacation, played by Max Headroom, and they all go on this adventure in the backyard, and there's ants and Legos and Cheerios and vacuums and brooms and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, it's one that's very confusing by the name. That, you know, that's the storyline of the movie. Like it's you know, if you had never seen it, I could see where just seeing that name, you'd be like, what the hell is that all about? So thanks for that breakdown, Jesse. That was helpful.
It also
well, you know, I just thought that's what we did with this.
And it also had a wonderful Roger Rabbit short before.
Did it?
The movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember that. What was the short?
I can't remember what
Oh,
it's one was.
Oh, it was like the baby in the kitchen and stuff.
He was a babysitter.
Yeah,
he was a babysitter to the baby from the movie.
Yeah. I do remember that. I forgot all about that. Good call out.
That's right.
So for me, obviously, well, despite using Turner and Hooch for many years to teach people how to pronounce my last name, I've never actually seen that one. But Lethal Weapon 2,
Get Out,
great movie. Last Crusade is very tempting. But I got to go with Jesse, honestly. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I've never seen it on the big screen. But it's one of those movies that's like so amazing when you're a kid. Like Jesse said, you got they go through the yard and find the Legos and the Cheerios and they befriend the ant. And I'm just sitting here like, that would be really fucking cool to see on the big screen.
It still holds up.
I'm sure it does. Yeah.
I gotta say, I almost didn't go with Batman because I thought that Batman was going to be a sweep. I thought that all of us were going to choose Batman, and I'm actually fucking shocked that two people selected Honey, I Shrunk the Kids over Batman. It blows my fucking mind.
Well, I mean, if it was Batman,
you had like a whole 5 minutes to sit with that.
If it was Batman Forever, then maybe we'd be talking a different story.
Wow.
Get out of here.
Just terrible. Just terrible.
Say the most horrible thing just to piss people off.
You can't change my childhood as much as you want to.
And just as a quick look, Batman, that was week 6 in the theater for it. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was also week 6. So clearly the people at that time agreed Batman was better. Indiana Jones Last Crusade, that was week 11 for it. Still holding strong in the top 10. 178 million at that point. So yeah, I think Lethal Weapon 2 would have been another good choice as far as just an action flick on the scene. But
what what's surprising to me is Parenthood is week 1, and that's out of the top 10. I've always really enjoyed that movie, and it's got a lot of star power in it.
That movie was a grower, not a shower.
Yeah, it might be one that didn't open up to a lot of theaters at first. Like, sometimes possible, they do where so it could be that. But yeah, I'm surprised by that as well. So, and then just rounding out the rest of this list, you had Ghostbusters 2, Weekend at Bernie's, Do the Right Thing, Karate Kid 3, Shag, and UHF. UHF is for only being the second week, that's a pretty decent movie too. I like UHF.
You're saying Shag like you know what that is.
I have no idea.
Oh yeah, that's I don't know.
I've never seen either of those.
You've never seen UHF?
Mm-mm.
Oh, that's good. Oh, and then there's a couple more. Babar, Distant Voices, Catch Me If You Can. Yeah, but UHF with Weird Al, great movie. Not great movie, but it's a funny movie. Okay, let me remove that. So that was this week in theaters. So
wait,
now,
why is my dice loaded? Why are you saying I have loaded dice, Joe? Last time I rolled a 4. This was a 9. That's 5 more.
I wasn't paying attention to the chat. Which one of our movies started a whole fetish?
What the hell's a prawn?
Probably
I assume he didn't want
probably the Honey I Shrunk the Kids, if I had to guess.
There's a fetish about...
It's Rule 34, so...
What's Rule 34?
You know Rule 34. All right. Next to the main attraction. So, real quick.
Wait, I'm still confused. What? Oh.
Okay.
No, I got it.
I'll send you some links, Jesse.
All right.
It was 1989.
I didn't lose a bet. Trevor, my kids decided to do my hair before the show, so I'm on vacation. I let them do whatever. It was, at least they chose that and not painting my nails this time, so it worked out well.
You paint your own nails.
Yeah. So we were going to do the top 10 Marvel series. Before we did, we were going to quickly talk about the Secret Invasion finale because, spoiler alert, it did not make our top 10. I know that's probably shocking for everybody, but Secret Invasion did not make our top 10. So really quickly, before we get into our actual top 10, thoughts on the season finale, Secret Invasion. Who wants to go first?
Can we at least embiggen ourselves while we're talking about Secret Invasion?
Sure, we can do that.
You're not going to
use
use that yet?
Nick Fury looked better than you, but go ahead.
You're wrong, but that's all right. For me, it was Secret Invasion ended exactly how I thought it would, and that is fucking disappointing. Very much like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it had some good premise, but it fell flat. This even worse than Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Wow, that's a very subjective comment.
It's my opinion, but I think we can all agree Secret Invasion sucked. It's especially taking an amazing concept and boiling it down to no semblance of even that concept.
You guys are so hung up on that.
I'm just saying. Okay, you have a show about shapeshifters, and yet throughout the entire thing, you know who everybody is. Like,
yeah.
You know, their big reveal was Rhodey was a Skrull. Yeah, everybody fucking knew that from the second he walked on the screen. Other than that, you even have Gaia, who's pretending to be dead, yet she keeps the same fucking human form. That's just stupid. Like, if I can shapeshift, why am I going to walk around looking like this?
Okay, none of that has anything to do with your original comment, but go ahead.
What do you mean?
You said it took an awesome premise. I'm assuming
Right.
you meant the comic book.
Right, the Secret Invasion premise.
Right.
That
Right.
Skrulls are amongst us. We don't know who
Could be
Skrulls
anybody.
are.
They could be looking like anybody. Yeah.
Like, that's what this series is supposed to be. Even they said that's what this series is going to be. It's supposed to be this espionage spy thriller, and yet you get Old Man Fury waddling around, crying all the fucking time. Like, it gave you nothing. It gave you no Fury. Maria Hill was killed, unceremoniously for no reason. right off the bat, like anything that I was looking forward to was not in this series. At the end of the day, it was a series about Fury and his estranged wife that we never even fucking knew about. So who gives a shit? Go ahead, Jesse.
No, I want to go last.
Okay. Curtis?
Sean, do you want to go or you want me to go?
You go.
So I will talk about the good points first, which the only real one that I have, because I think this at least set up to where we know we have an idea of how many scrolls there are that they're in the world, and we kind of know that there's this, at least the government is going after them. We know there's at least one super scroll that's left, and the rest we don't know what kind of powers they have. So it did add something to going forward. Other than that, there wasn't a whole lot that this really added to the MCU. Like, you could easily skip this, I think, and go on to the rest of the MCU, and I don't think you're going to miss much. I will say, I know on the last time that we talked about this, I was agreeing with Dooch that the main villain seemed very lifeless and who cares, and but the interaction that he had with Fury in the finale, I thought was really good. I thought that was some really good acting. You could feel the passion and the betrayal, and I just thought that actor did a really good job in the finale. I wish he would have brought more of that throughout the entire series, because I thought that performance in the last episode was pretty spectacular. But in the end, we didn't really see any of the heroes involved. We didn't get to see, War Machine suit. You're sitting there at the end and you've got the Skrull trying to convince the president to bomb the Russians when they could have just kidnapped the president and made a Skrull look like the president. I agree with Dooch that there's so many things in this where it's if you had the power to shapeshift and become anybody, there's way more things that you could have done than what you decided to do. The fact that they're trying to have a Skrull convince the president rather than just be the president is one of the stupidest things, in the series. So yeah, it wasn't very good. I'm not happy that it's not very good, because I wanted it to be, and I like Fury, and I was hoping that it kind of seems like they've been phasing Samuel L. Jackson out of the MCU, and I really like him in the MCU. So I was hoping that this would kind of reinvigorate his character, but I just don't see that it did anything for that, and it really didn't add much for me. So, Sean?
All right. So I would say pluses. I am one of those people that enjoy seeing, in the Ultimate comic books, for instance, we got to see the Professor X wasn't as good as the Professor X we knew from our normal version. And he might have actually, done some things to coerce the students to join the X-Men versus them joining of their own free will or whatever. And I kind of dug that we got to see kind of the other side of what Fury was doing in that way. And it's him setting up all these deals and all that. It's not something I needed a show to do, but I like that we got to see a little bit of him wanting to work with them and him trying to do, because this is all stuff that was going on behind the scenes since Captain Marvel. And we never even knew this was something that was happening within the MCU and all that stuff. And the whole thing, okay, he's married. Didn't know that was a thing until this show and all that stuff. I will say I actually thought that the way they wrote them in their scenes was actually not bad. I didn't mind them. I like the whole idea of him wanting to earn her trust again and try to rebuild. And even at the end, they have that part where she turns into her normal self, and you can see he still loves her and stuff. I was like, well, that's kind of nice. It ended on that note. But and there was this whole thing, Olivia Colman was one of the standouts for me. The English actress, I really liked how she was in the show. I kind of hope they go back to her at some point in something in the future, because she had this sass that I really loved when she would come into a scene, and she was basically like better than Nick Fury at points.
Yeah.
Like when Nick Fury was like Avengers Nick Fury and things like that. So I liked how she could go up against him, and she even got the drop on the scrolls and all that. But yeah, I mean the show itself, it was 6 episodes. It didn't need to be a whole 6 episodes, for my taste at least. And like this was one of the times when I watched something where when you get to the end and you see Emilia Clarke versus the bad guy, I'm like, and now is when they're going to have the beatdown. And unfortunately, they've done so many better fights at endings of movies, even with CGI, that watching that one just was kind of like the most anticlimactic final battle I've ever seen. And I was like, all right, so that's that, you know. And but yeah, I wouldn't say you had to see it. I would not recommend it to people. It really wasn't interesting to me on a lot of those levels.
Jesse?
All right. Well, I gotta agree with you guys on a lot of the points. Like I know I was defending it up through the final episode, or up to the final episode, just because I try not to put a whole judgment until I see where it goes in the end. And I agree, it didn't really go anywhere. It was the longest post-credit scene that's like, I don't even know how strong this is going to play into the Marvels movie at this point. Like, it feels like this is just going to be a background thing where someone throws a couple lines in and, oh yeah, we dealt with that. They've got a planet now. And all the people commenting, I've seen people commenting that, like, why didn't they just take him to the planet Thanos set up? Like, yeah, that's a perfect now, you know, if it had been about, hey, we've got this planet we can take you guys to, but they're like, no, we want Earth. We're used to it here because we've been here so long now. We don't want to go start over. I could totally see that have being a better plot. The whole thing with, like, I like the overall idea of it. I like that it was a tone down, that it wasn't as reliant as on the heroes and everything. Because it's kind of like, I know you don't like the show that much, Curtis, but it was kind of like Andor. You're seeing like a different level of what's going on in the world of the MCU, kind of like Andor. We're seeing more of that background, but it didn't go anywhere. The whole final scene between Gaia and Gravik was like, I think everybody acted great. I think the acting was great. I thought it was filmed well. I think everything about the production of it, except for the CGI AI opening, was fantastic. The stuff with Fury and his wife, it didn't go far enough for me to feel super connected to them. I think the most and the best stuff was, like you were saying, Curtis, the stuff with Gravik and Fury. Like, I like that he was kind of this roiling, you know, still waters run deep kind of character, and you got to see him becoming more and more unhinged as the series goes. But the whole final fight where it's just the two of them duking it out because they're the only ones with all the Avengers powers, like I'm not a scientist, but all that was in that little vial. They were able to get all that out of one little thing, and they both instantly know how to manifest and use all those powers. Now, if they would have said something like, "Oh, becoming a Super Skrull, you know how to shapeshift. You're more fluid. It's easier for you to adapt to these things." But like, they just, every other time, like, they'd throw a punch, they'd stop and their arm would turn into some other character, and they'd look at it like they were flexing. And I'm like, that's bad directing. Like, I don't blame the actors for that. Like, that's just really bad choice. Like, oh, hey, remember all these random characters from all these movies? Like, here's their arm. And it just, the payoff didn't merit out for me. Like I said, I think the performance is good. The overall story was good. I didn't mind that it was, like, I'll agree, it was slower. But I was okay with that. I don't need every movie to be, you know, the same. And I don't mind that it was so different from the original concept where it was all the heroes. Like, that didn't bother me at all, because the whole secret invasion concept to me is more interesting, where most of the world doesn't know this is happening. Like, that, I thought that was cool. But yeah, the fact that, like, and okay, so we're talking about the finale. Has Rhodey been a Skrull since Civil War? Is that what they're telling us in that?
No.
We don't know.
Well,
Because
I
he's
read
in
an
a
article-
hospital gown. He's in a hospital gown and his legs aren't working.
Yeah, but he
there-
would. Sorry, go ahead, Sean.
Well, there was an article I read where the director actually said, yeah, ever since Civil War, he has been a captive.
Did they
So now
say that?
they're-
I know they said it was before this.
I know Feige
Um,
teased it's been a long time, but I didn't see
Right.
it. I'm not saying you're wrong,
Yeah.
Sean. I just didn't see that one.
Yeah, I'd have to. Yeah, so you actually saw where they did say that, Sean, that it's been since Civil War.
There was I'll have to find it here while we're on. There was an
Please.
interview with the director where he specifically said, yeah, Rhodey's been a Skrull since he got shot by Vision.
Yep.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, I just pulled it up on.
Well, that's interesting because that means that
comicbook.com.
he was a Skrull during the blip, and while they were trying to bring the heroes back and all that other kind of stuff.
Exactly. So
And when he was
it's like,
crawling around to get out of the rubble of the compound in Endgame when he could have stood up and walked at any moment. So he
Interesting.
was willing to die as an imposter than get out easily.
I don't know. I just and Jesse, I don't have to have every movie be a knockout drag out superhero fight either. Like I really enjoyed the spy nature of Winter Soldier, and I'm a big fan of the movie Man from U.N.C.L.E. And if they would have put together a spy series like that and called it like Operation Skrull or something like that, no problem. And then this is what we got. I would have been a lot less upset. The fact that they took and called it Secret Invasion, knowing that that's going to make those of us that know what Secret Invasion is think of all the cool things that happen in the comic book, and then you give us zero of that. That's a problem. And even if you say initially, ahead of time, oh well, this isn't going to be the same as a comic, we understand that. But to not get any of it, then why the hell did you call it Secret Invasion? Call it something completely different.
See, I'm even okay with them calling it Secret Invasion, but like is it, if you're telling me I'm getting a spy thriller, give me a spy thriller. If you want to keep the heroes out of it, okay. I mean, I was looking forward to a nice Nick Fury, Maria Hill spy thriller.
There were not really surprises. Like you're sitting there, like to Dooch's point, like you've got these guys that can make themselves look like anybody, and yet we knew that Rhodey and Gravik were the bad guys basically from the beginning. Like there's not a point where you really saw them. You're like, oh, these are the good guys. No, or confused by it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like it didn't catch me like when I watched Winter Soldier and then you found out that Hydra was inside S.H.I.E.L.D. and it was like, oh shit, like this is fucking crazy. Like they've been in there the whole time. And there was no moment like that in this series where you were like, oh shit, that guy's a Skrull and this has been going on and whatever. Like that didn't happen. Like, well, if they had turned out that at some point, like Fury's been a Skrull this whole time, and we're sitting here thinking that Fury's the, I don't know, they could have done something.
Right. We could have seen scenes where like Fury's up to something, but then it turns out that it wasn't even really Fury, or like just that shell game. I've been rewatching the early seasons of Supernatural lately, and season 2, episode 12, Night Shifter. I don't know if you guys have ever watched Supernatural.
Yeah. I know
but
that
it's Sam and Dean are hunting a shapeshifter in a bank. It's all locked up because he was robbing it. And it's just this shell game of this shapeshifter taking over different bodies. You never know who's who. They get split up. Like that's the fun. That go watch that episode. Like that's how you do a shapeshifter episode.
Yeah,
you guys had a whole series and you couldn't capture any of the thrill.
Poor
that,
writing,
like
poor directing, but
did in
good
one
acting. I'm with Jesse on that. So
it was good acting, but it's not the actors that I'm panning on this. It's the writers and all that. Like this was just not a good series.
The thing about the series, in my opinion, is it reminded me of like in the 90s when they would say, we're going to make a show about this and it's a superhero property. And then when you go and sit down and watch it, you're like, you don't know anything about what makes this work for me in any way, shape, or form. You're doing this and putting here's a superhero show, blanket statement.
to
but
get
you
me
don't-
in the theater to watch your other shit.
exactly.
Yeah.
It almost reminds me of like Dolph Lundgren Punisher or something along those lines, because it really didn't have the oomph for me that even like the worst Marvel show, this being not obviously the exception because I'm trying to use another one as an example, but you know, there are other Marvel shows out there where it's like, even though they don't hit on all cylinders, there's still a comic book esqueness and superhero esqueness, and it feels like they're at least trying to adapt something, even though it might not be the greatest version of it. They're still trying to do justice to it. This one, it just felt like it really didn't need to happen, like we all have been saying. But the one thing that I forgot to mention in what I said was the most interesting part leaving the show is the ending, where they're showing now there are people out there who are just taking guns, going to events and shooting people.
Yeah.
And that now is a bigger danger than the Skrulls ever were. And that is a way more interesting.
And some of them really are
premise.
scrolls, and some of them aren't.
Exactly. I love
Yeah.
that. Because I love that you see some of them get shot, and the minute they fall on the ground, they're a Skrull. And then there's that woman that she's there at a press conference. She gets shot, and she's still a woman. And I'm like, that in a race against time kind of a show would be a freaking really interesting way of doing Secret Invasion. They set their own selves up to show we have a better show we should have done, but we didn't do that.
Yeah.
And that's what really bugs me about this at the end of the day. Like the president flat out saying, we will find you. We will hunt you down. We are going to kill you because of what you did to us now. This story should have been like at the beginning 5 minutes of that series and showing in the news what led to this moment. And now you have Nick Fury and Maria Hill. And I hated that they killed her too. That was a stupid moment for the show. As
It
far
was
as
a
I'm
waste
concerned.
of a death.
She was such a good character, and she could have been even better utilized in a show with her and Fury. And instead, no, we'll take her out in the first episode, and she'll be a special guest when we show back to her death every freaking time we reference her, which bugged me. But have her and him doing that almost like they did in Far From Home when they dealt with Mysterio, but it's the two of them, no Spider-Man, no superheroes, trying to get to the bottom of this and trying to do a race against time so they can't kill specific targets or something. That would have been a hell of a lot better show, in my opinion.
Well, and I think we live in an age where, you know, people have vast different opinions on everything, you know, politics and how you live your life and how you do certain things. And I could see, like, if there was a threat out there that people could be these aliens undercover, like, yeah, I could see where people would just go nuts and start like shooting people that they think, because they think differently than them, they must be an alien, they must be this and that. You know, this politician is going to destroy our society because he's really an undercover alien. And I could see that happening. So yeah, you're right, that they set up a great premise, and then never had the payoff because it was at the end of the series.
And you expanding on that just proved how much more of an interesting premise that would have been. And if they would have called that Secret Invasion, I actually would have been like, I know this isn't the comic, but the fact that the premise of this is, like Matt's saying, the shell game of who's who and dealing with that. And on top of that, now it's world leaders that are the ones, almost like in Winter Soldier, where they were targeting everyone who would have been a threat to S.H.I.E.L.D. Well, here's everybody who would have been a threat to the world, because the world now is on, DEFCON 5 about the Skrulls. Do it. That would have been a better show, and I would have probably been there going, like, by the end of it, you're sitting there going, holy shit, Fury's been a Skrull the whole time, or whatever, and that would have been amazing. So, yeah, they shot themselves.
We never got to have the moment of, like, maybe it's cliche, but with the doppelgangers, like, no, I'm the good one. No, I'm the good one. Like, and then
right.
That. Yeah, exactly. Even if it was just like the president or Rhodey, like the fact that we, the audience,
Spider-Mans pointing at each other.
The fact that we, the audience, knew that everyone who was a Skrull that was being impersonated was in a pod somewhere, or at least most of them were in pods somewhere, like, took out most of the threat of not being sure of who you were seeing.
I'm glad that you said that, because I I actually didn't think that everybody was in pods. Like I knew they had some people in pods, but I thought there might be other people that they were impersonating that weren't in pods. So
Sure.
like at the end or in the hospital scene where they're moving the president and they're doing that whole thing and somebody's like taking out like the people like Trank Gun. I actually thought that was the real road because at the time we think Fury's in there with Gravik. We don't know. So I thought that was the real roadie going after the fake roadie. Right.
Mhm.
And so then when it
That
turned
would have
out
been cool
Fury,
too.
yeah, I was like, this is gonna because I was like, at some point, because we know going into Armor Wars or whatever that they're going to have the real roadie. So at some point we're gonna have to see the real roadie. So I thought that we were gonna get a roadie off, like the two against each other.
It's a
And that's
rodeo.
yeah, a rodeo. That's what I was looking for. And then when we didn't get that, I was like, oh, so disappointed. And then we finally see the real one and he's just got to be carried off and stuff. And I'm like, this is just such a letdown. Like
Yeah.
you give us the one B list or C list Avenger and we don't even get to see him fight. And he's just being helped off at the end of the show. It's like, so disappointing. So
I'm curious if I mean, it's got to be because the world seems more stable at this point than it did during Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So, like, the roadie that's in that is the Skrull roadie. Granted, he's not in it very much, but the fact that like he's the one that took the shield from or that Sam gave the shield to, and like he's trying to like that doesn't track. I have to rewatch it. Those scenes with that version of roadie, I'm like, does that make sense for this Skrull roadie to be behaving this way? So.
But we don't know, like at that point, Gravik and all of those other Skrulls could have still been going along with Fury and Shield and all that kind of stuff. Like they could have been, because for the longest time they were working for Shield and doing his bidding and all that kind of stuff. We don't know at what point they turned and decided Fury's betrayed us and we need to do something different. Like that could have been just recently.
From the sounds of the show, what I took as it was at least after Endgame, because that's when he sent Gravik to collect all the DNA. Was after that battle. That's how they got.
Which, by the way, did you notice when they did the DNA, like Tony Stark came up and Hawkeye and stuff? Like, what kind of fucking what powers are you getting from those guys?
Yeah, it's fucking stupid. Like Jess said, it's a little tiny vial. It's fucking retarded. But
okay.
But so like
I did not say that.
I'm helping you out, buddy. But so for me, if you're saying that Rhodey was taken after Civil War, why were they replacing people back then? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It doesn't. Was this a rogue Skrull who then, like, after Gravik got pissed off, and he's like, "Well, I've been impersonating Rhodey for 20 years."
Yeah, I didn't think of that. You're right.
Well,
cool, man. That's helpful.
The whole thing, like that was one of those arguments that even I was siding with the bad guy on for once, where they're literally saying it's been 30 years and all they keep wanting them to do is just keep doing the same thing and hoping for the best. Yeah. And I'm like, that could be some people's, like that's almost like a third of somebody's life, or even even half of their life, depending how long they live. And they're waiting this out this long. Yeah, I'd be freaking pissed too. So the idea of having it where, okay, let's start infiltrating and let's start doing this stuff makes a hell of a lot more sense. But the timing and all that is weird to me. But
yeah, I don't think that it's Rhodey after Civil War, because like if I'm thinking about that, like I think it had to be more recent, because if like otherwise, like when the blip happens and half the world's population goes. So if half of the humans on Earth disappeared, well, there's your fucking land that you need is the Skrulls. Like if you're the remaining Skrulls that are there, you got all kinds of land. Like, what are you upset about? Like, you could have, done your own thing. That would have been the perfect time to either wipe out the rest of the human race or at least kind of take over your own area or something.
Absolutely.
So the fact that they didn't do that, I think it was post blip that they started kind of organizing this stuff and putting the people in pods and that kind of thing.
They're trying to retcon it because if Rhodey is a Skrull during Infinity War or Endgame rather, he's talking to Carol.
Yeah.
And there's in the comics, those two are an item for a while. I don't know if they still are, but they were kind of hinting that there was not hinting that there was a relationship with those two characters.
Right.
And I know the comics and the movies aren't the same, but like that was becoming an issue, not an issue, but that was becoming a big deal in the comics around the time this movie came out. So it felt like they were hinting that there was like the spark of something between Rhodey and Carol in that one brief moment. I mean, it's very subtle, but you could have read into it.
Right.
Right.
As we do.
And you know, so there was nothing like, you know, I understand if you are setting this stuff up, you want to like lay stuff back and be like, oh, this was a clue. I'm like, that didn't feel like a clue.
No.
Mm.
Like the fact that if he's looking at the person who is let their people down the most, Fury's the one that's been using them, but Carol's the one that's disappointed them.
Yep.
Why would he be in that mode? Now, granted, maybe like you're saying, Curtis,
Right.
maybe the whole thing
And then
with
during
Gravik
the blip, he
turning
worked
them
with her
later.
directly to bring everybody back and stuff. Like he worked with her closely throughout the blip. So I think
Yeah.
it's post Endgame, if anything.
That's where
And it could be like Duke was saying, like him being in the rubble and stuff in Endgame. It could be right after that you know, it happened. I don't know.
I assume. I mean, he got pretty beat up in Endgame, so I could have seen
Yeah.
him going to the hospital afterwards, and you know,
Yeah.
Billy Bays did throw out. So for the DNA, Tony Stark, super smart.
He's
hot
not.
guy,
Wait.
super
Hold
good
on.
aim,
Hold on.
Black
hold
Widow,
on.
super hot. So I know
Okay.
some DNA, Sean would like to get his hands.
Okay. Hold on. Let's
Black Widow.
roll this back. Tony Stark is an intelligent guy. He's not super smart. He doesn't have. It's not like he has a super powered intelligence. He's just a smart guy. But I've seen plenty smart people that have dumbass fucking kids. So, you know, just because you're smart doesn't mean that it's in your DNA. It's like, yeah, number one. And then Hawkeye doesn't have super good aim. He has good aim. And Black Widow, okay, I'll have that one.
For the record,
Yeah.
they were not saving all the blood for Super Skrulls to be able to manifest powers. Like they were collecting everybody's DNA because it was see, this is another thing that to me proves that Fury is almost as much as a villain to the heroes as Tony Stark has been, because he manipulates them into the whole thing with like everybody loves Nick Fury in the comics and in the movies. And I think Sam Jackson does a fantastic job playing him, but he is the shadiest motherfucker.
Yes.
That's trying to say he's a good guy.
That's what I loved about that conversation between him and Gravik, because Gravik lays out like all the people that he's had him kill, and the fact that the guy that he's wearing his face of is the first guy that Fury had him kill, and he doesn't even recognize it. Like the fact that Fury's had him kill so many people that it means nothing to him. Like him sending somebody out to murder somebody, it weighs nothing on Fury. So yeah, I that was a good part of the show, is that we did get to see that Fury's not this like, you know, great guy. He's not like the you know, the white hat wearing good guy. Like he definitely has shades of gray going on for sure.
He's the realist hero. Like he's, you know, he does the dirty stuff that he needs to get the outcome that he feels is the right one. Like,
but that's a lot of what villains think too. Like
I know it is, and that's the
like Thanos thought that he was doing the right thing.
Had dove into that instead of just kind of bringing it up in the last monologue.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like it could have been a lot of fun. But,
like, and you could have had that tension, like with if they hadn't killed off Maria, like they didn't need to kill Maria other than to use it as like a guilt trip thing with Fury, you know, saying like, oh, we'll use this against you, when they used it against him anyway. Like it had no weight or bearing other than, you know, we're supposed to think it has weight and bearing. Because they didn't kill her to get him involved, because he was already involved. He was there on Earth, so he was coming to deal with it.
And it didn't even slow him down. They kept threatening, we're going to release this, and he kept going on, and they released it, and it made no bearing on the fucking show.
And I will say this: Tony Stark is known as I think he's like the 5th smartest man on Earth, or 5th smartest person on Earth. So. Yes, just because you have intelligent DNA doesn't mean you will automatically be intelligent, but he does have beyond above average intelligence.
If you get Drax DNA, though, you get a buff ass arm.
That's true. All
And a
right.
rock
Anything
arm,
else
'cause they
on
had
Secret
Korg
Invasion
DNA for
before
some
we move into our top 10?
I think we bored everybody. I do want to say hi to Orcas and Dave Jones. Thank you for tuning
All
in.
right.
Missed you guys
So
earlier.
we're not going to be able to go this in depth into all the ones that we have listed here in the top 10, but do want to get some
Wait,
quick
we're not
thoughts
staying up
on-
till 4 a.m.?
No. Do want to get everybody's thoughts as we go through this.
Curtis is a changed man after 1 week off. He's like, oh, we gotta.
So before we get into
Tighten
the
up.
top 10, I do have a honorable mention because it almost made the top 10. It was really high in the votes. It was close at number 11, and then after that, it kind of dropped off. The rest of them weren't really close. So honorable mention here is Miss Marvel. Just missed the top 10. Any thoughts from anybody on this one?
I love it.
Dooch just locked up.
No,
Yeah.
I thought Jesse had more. I didn't want to.
Oh, okay.
No,
It's a show. I really like. her.
It's one of the shows of all time.
Yeah. I forget the actress's name, but I really like her. I think she did a phenomenal job. This is a series where it just kind of fell off at the end, story-wise for me. But I really like her, and I want to see where they're going with her character. She's probably the only reason I would watch the Marvels.
I liked her, and I liked the family dynamic, and I liked seeing that the Muslim culture and learning stuff that I didn't know, like kind of delving into that world that I don't have any experience with. The series itself, the storyline, the heroes, the villains, the ending of it really didn't do a whole lot for me, but I did like the family dynamic. So this was one of my lower rated ones. But Sean?
Yeah, I liked her. She reminded me of Tom Holland, the way that she was bringing her character across. And then I did like, especially, I honestly never finished the show. I think I got to like the second to last episode or something. But I liked how in the beginning of it, especially, that they let her art tell the story a lot too. So that was something that was at least different, and like it made the series her own in that way. So they were creative with the series, and it was also interesting to at least, touch upon a different culture than here's, Captain America, Iron Man, all these white people. It's like, okay, now we're dealing with a different culture and stuff too, which, that was fun to see that, honestly. Like you said, the family dynamic.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on this one?
oh, I only get to say my 2 words.
Well, you said it and then stopped. So, but if you got other things, go
because
ahead.
Matt started talking, so I stopped.
Okay.
Please tell us your words, Jesse.
No. I just because we got it in honorable mention. Is it a great show overall? No, it's got its problems, and they definitely deviated a lot from the comics, which is fine. But I hate the fact now that because of what they've done in this show and what they're doing, setting up in the MCU, it is now affecting the comics. I've never liked when they started doing that with X-Men and stuff. Because I think her story from the comics was really powerful, the way they did her Inhuman story and her origin and becoming Ms. Marvel the first time. Because she actually turns into Carol Danvers in the comics when she comes out of her Inhuman cocoon for the first time. And it was this whole identity crisis thing that I thought was really cool. And a lot of people who were fans of the comic really identified with it, and that was a big thing that drew people into this character. But they nailed her personality. They got her family dynamic, her friends, which is some of the things I love the most about the comic series. So yeah, it was basically a way to do another origin story for a new character. So yeah, the villain and the whole overall arcing story of the first season wasn't super grabbing, but her Aman Vellani is the actress. She did a great job. She pulled me into the character. I'm really excited to see where they take her. Like Sean said, with Tom Holland, getting to see her with Monica and Carol in the next movie, I think is going to be really cool. I hope we see more of her in the movies. Yeah, I thought the show was a lot of fun, and like you were saying, Curtis, with the different culture and everything, it was really cool to see that in a way where they're just portrayed as people living in a town, and it's not like, oh, they're suspected of being terrorists, like you see in like 24 or Jack Ryan shows and stuff. Like it just let them be people, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it was the way that they interact, the family dynamic, the certain level of respect for the elders, and the religious parts to it as well, the oppression parts of it. I loved all that stuff. I just didn't like the superhero side of things, which is different from Secret Invasion. I wanted more superhero. With this, I wanted less superhero. I wanted to know more about the family dynamic and that kind of stuff. And when they started introducing all these like characters and they're coming after her and the flashbacks and all the powers and stuff, that's when I felt like the story fell off. So, okay. Number 10, Punisher on Netflix, now on Disney Plus. Who wants to start with this one? Okay, I'll go. I really like the Punisher. I've not read any of the comics. I don't really know the character. Obviously, I've seen all the hillbilly rednecks that have the Punisher sticker on the back of their pickup truck and all this and that, and that's really all I know about Punisher. But I thought the series was really good. I loved the tortured aspect of his character. The pain that he's gone through and what that means to him, and trying to find answers and doing whatever it takes. That kind of anti-hero. I just thought it was really good. I thought the acting performances in it were really awesome. I think I can't remember his name, but the guy that plays
John
Punisher,
Bernthal.
John Bernthal, he does an amazing job. I can't at this point see anybody else playing Punisher because he nailed it. So that's my take.
I never watched it, so it's on you guys.
Wow. Okay.
Same. So yeah, the two of you guys, because it was low on my list.
So the two of us. Okay, interesting. I don't know how math worked, but that's
You
interesting.
guys must have ranked it very high.
Now,
Curtis gave it quite a high number, and
I will say right off the bat, I have not watched any of the Netflix Marvel stuff.
And I did say if you hadn't seen it, rank it based on how you would your interest level in it.
That's what I was about to say. So I ranked them more in how I've heard people talk about them. So like Punisher was one I've heard good things about, so I ranked it higher. So
just as an FYI, I ranked this as like my 4th highest.
Yeah.
Jesse had it at his. It's actually fairly low. It's like his 11th highest, and then Dooch and Sean rated it above some of the other shows on the list. But obviously not seeing it, it wasn't very high. So it was enough to get it in the top 10, but looks like mostly off of my back. But Jesse, your thoughts since you actually saw it?
I've watched. I'm pretty sure I've watched everything on the list that was MCU or Netflix related. The problem I have with Punisher, I think Bernthal is an amazing actor. I haven't seen him in a lot of stuff, but whenever I see him in something, he is commanding the attention of the screen. Like he's a powerful actor, and he is the main reason I like this show and his introduction in Daredevil season 2. Like, he just is riveting to watch. And like you were saying, Chris, like the tortured aspect and how he's struggling with the PTSD and the all the stuff from the military training and all of this stuff they did there, and then with the loss of his family and everything. I have a hard time with the Punisher as a character, just because of how black and white everything is for him, and his ability to just justify killing on the level he does. And I know that's the whole point of the character and everything. He's that darker, edgier character, at least in the modern interpretations and stuff. So show wise, I think it's great. I think that it has some of the best action sequences of any of the shows.
Oh yeah.
I think Daredevil's probably the only one I would rank higher as far as like hand-to-hand like combat action scenes. But like the fight in the gym, is that season 2?
I believe so. Yeah.
Is fantastic. And season 2 especially, I think you need to watch the Daredevil season and season 1 to appreciate season 2 completely. But like this felt like the first Netflix show that stayed on target. I feel like all the other ones
Stay
would
on
have these
target.
one-off episodes. We're like, oh,
Stay
here's
on
a
target.
whole episode about this FBI agent that's been through the whole series. Oh, and guess what? He dies 10 minutes into the next episode. Like, I didn't need an hour and a half explanation to this FBI character that I'm not invested in.
Yeah.
And I think all the other Netflix shows could have been shorter runtime with cutting a lot of that excess stuff out. Season 2 of Punisher, I felt stayed on target. Like, yeah, there was that cop or that agent that was pursuing him, but like everything she was doing felt relevant to the story. And it always would come back to him or the girl he was protect, because that the girl was in season 2 also, right?
Yes.
The teenager. So I thought like they stayed on focus with those and just did a really good job with Punisher. So
And I would say for everything in our top 10 list, it's definitely worth watching at least once. So, you know, if there's stuff on this, like this one for Dooch and Scavarna, if you guys haven't seen this one, I would encourage you to watch it. It's definitely worth watching. So yeah. Any other thoughts before we go to number 9? Right, number 9, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And
Wow.
this was mostly ranked high by myself and the Dooch. It got poor scores by Jesse and Sean. So who wants to start off with this one?
I'll take it. I mean, it's a series I was actually really excited for, coming off of Avengers and all that, and I love Clark Gregg. He's a great actor. I love Agent Coulson as a character. It was, you know, you were really excited to see like how is he coming back and all that, and then you know, basically for me, it's mostly off those early seasons. I did not actually finish the series, but still, those first few seasons were just so well done. With, you know, Coulson coming back, the, you know, Fury, what Fury did to him, and I forget the names off the top of my head, but like his right hand man, and all being tied into the Winter Soldier, Fall of Shield type stuff. I just thought it was really well done, and it was can't miss viewing for me for at least 3 seasons.
Yeah, I actually did finish the series because, you know, I
have
will
to.
admit that I was like hate watching it towards the end. Early on, this was very much an extension of the MCU. Like when it started, there were cameos from people. Like it had Nick Fury does a cameo in the first episode.
Yep.
There's some cameos from some people from the Thor movies in there. As they went into the whole Winter Soldier, there was actually a lead up to the week before Winter Soldier released in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., kind of showing what was going on with Hydra. Yep. And then you had Winter Soldier, and then you came back to the next episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that picked up right where Winter Soldier left off. Mm-hmm. So the early season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I loved how they intertwined all the storylines that were going on in the MCU movies. It was kind of what I think they're trying to do now with the Disney Plus shows, like all the different shows, which is a little bit more difficult because, you know, you've got, you know, 15 different shows with different, you know, heroes and directors and all that. So I think when they just had the one show, it was easier for them to kind of keep that storyline going. But then they started kind of breaking away from the MCU and doing their own thing. And they did like the whole Ghost Rider thing. And then they did some stuff with aliens and some stuff with time travel. And it got really fucking weird. And towards the end, I mean, the show was pretty bad towards the end. And it was, you know, I've seen people like, oh, well, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't canon. And I will say that is correct. Towards the end of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it's not canon. But early on, it very much was canon, and it was, you know, actually intertwined with the MCU. And I would say, you know, kind of what Dooch is saying, the first few seasons are very good, you know, in the way that it mixes with those storylines going on.
And it brought you some surprise characters too, as they slowly like built up Deathlock in those first seasons.
Yeah.
Like it's just those little surprises, and it was a chance to me to like, okay, this is where we get the stuff that we're not going to get in the movies. Like they're not going to make a Deathlock movie, but we get him here. So it was that hope.
Thanks, Lynn. I appreciate you agreeing with me, sir.
Jesse, Sean.
I've watched one episode, so I don't have much
Oh.
to say.
Okay.
Is that all you have to say for your not much to say?
He said not much.
Okay. I watched the whole thing. It was excruciating by the end.
Yes, it was.
I liked all the characters. I thought they made some really weird choices for story arcs just to make it like drama and all that stuff. I didn't care for some of that stuff, but I did like at the beginning how they were trying to at least tie it into like parallel to the movies, to where they were acknowledging stuff was happening. But once it got clear, like the further and further it got into it without them ever letting Coulson talk to any of the Avengers, it just like that ruined it. So for me, I'm sure this is in some reality, some part of the multiverse, this is canon. But as far as the main timeline that we've been watching in the movies, I don't think it is. I really liked the Ghost Rider season though, because I thought they did a really cool thing that
Definitely
season
better
where
than the Nicolas Cage movies, that's for sure.
Well, I love Robbie Reyes. I had
That's
been
it,
reading the comic. I thought that was a really interesting where he's just kind of this, it's kind of this like Fast and Furious, like car race thief guy, but he like ends up just taking this car. And it's like this whole accidentally getting pulled into this whole thing, trying to take care of his little brother. And I think that's a really cool story. But the way they tied that in with the Darkhold, and then was it the life model decoys? There was like 3 arcs in this season, but they all started off separately, but they all kind of ended tying up together by the end of that season. And I thought that was really cool. And the fact that when Ghost Rider, like he creates a portal into hell or whatever with his chains, it was the same effect that they were using in Doctor Strange when they would use their sling ring. So I was like, oh, they're going to finally start bringing stuff back together.
Yeah.
And then it never went anywhere. And yeah, the whole time travel stuff and like going back to like Al Capone days. And then it just got too goofy. Again, I like all the cast. I really like all the characters on this image here. I thought were really cool. But then the way they made Fitz and Simmons, like where he lived in the alternate world where he was like the head of Hydra or something. And, you know, and then he just never was able to like come back to being like his good normal self. Like,
and then he was in the future for a while, and then they had to find him, and it was it got really bad. I'm with you. I think the early seasons are really good. I liked when they were tying it all together. I did think it was cool that we got some things like the Ghost Rider, like the Deathlock, like some things that were cool things for Marvel that we probably weren't going to get in the movies, or at least not for a while. So I did think it was cool that we got some of that stuff. But the last few seasons are fucking rough. That's all I can say. They're rough. Yeah. So. And I will say I probably cheated a little bit on this and ranked this a little higher than I should because I wanted it to make the top 10.
It's all politics, baby.
But I was doing it based off my feelings of watching it in the first few seasons, because when it was in those first few seasons, I loved it. I was a huge fan. So
Curtis went back and changed all his numbers after we did ours, so that he's like, if I change
I didn't do that.
I will say, the last thing I'll say, I loved that they gave us the callback to the cellist from Avengers, where you know, they never got to have him and her like be able to reconcile or like come to terms with that, but I thought it was cool that we at least got to see it. And I know Joss Whedon can be a touchy subject now with all the stuff that's come out about him, but the fact that he used so many people in this, or that the people that were making this, you know, from his group of friends, like I think Oh, I'm trying to remember the woman who plays the cellist. She was in a bunch of other stuff. Blanking on her name, but
I can't remember either.
anyway,
but
she was
I
in like
also
Dollhouse, and I think she was an Angel or Buffy or something. I don't know.
yeah, she was an
Amy Acker.
angel. Yeah,
Amy Acker. Yeah,
I
she's married to someone connected to him. I think. Anyway,
I lost my thought. Oh, the after Winter Soldier, and they were tying that in. They actually took like one of their main characters of the show, like one of the Shield agents, one of the like the heroes, and like made it to where he was Hydra the whole time, and it blew my fucking mind. Like just the fact that like this guy was Hydra the whole time, and then they went into flashbacks of how he was recruited for Hydra and kind of thrown into the Shield and raised through the ranks of Shield while working for Hydra was like it gave so much more depth to what was going on in Winter Soldier that for that alone, this needed to be on the top 10.
I agree.
So,
all
right, number 8, Moon Knight.
I was like, yes, Mockingbird was freaking amazing.
Who wants to start? Well, I'll just start because I did not rank this very high, so I'll just get mine out of the way. I don't have a whole lot of great things on it. I think the best parts of Moon Knight happened when you weren't watching because they happened while he was blacked out. So I will say I did not really enjoy this. I thought it was just a convoluted story, and by the end I was like, what the fuck did I watch, and how does that tie into everything else? So for me, I'm not a fan, so I'll let you guys talk about whatever your thoughts were.
For this show, I think it was really well done in the fact, like, I like the parts that he would wake up in a place and not know everything and have to piece things together, or like it was a really well shot series. The effects look cool. Like I said, just presenting the story in those. I always like those stories where it presents like bits and fragments at a time to you, and you don't necessarily see the whole thing. It definitely wasn't like one of my favorite series, but it was enjoyable throughout. And for a character that I knew in name only before it came out, I thought it was well done. Jesse?
I absolutely loved this series. It was a strange watch with because going into it, I have not read a lot of Moon Knight comics. I knew the whole thing, different versions of him. He's been portrayed differently in the comics to where he was just, this guy doing things that he would assume personalities, like intentionally, like a spy. And then there was the whole series in the early 2000s where he actually thought he was like Captain America or Wolverine or Spider, whatever character. I don't remember. I think Sean read some of that stuff, or at least knew more about it than I did at the time. But I really liked the DID, the dissociative identity disorder that he's got between Mark and Steven. I thought that was a really interesting way to do that. I thought that was cool. I liked how the different personalities manifested the different costumes, even though it's a little unnecessary to do all of that. I thought it was kind of a fun way to explain it and get them both into the show.
Yeah.
I will say the scene late in the series where he's basically forcing himself to relive the childhood trauma and it comes together. That episode is on par for me with. It's right below the finale of WandaVision where you see her have her whole breakdown and why she does what she does. To me, just in the fact that looking at the behind the scenes, like how that was actually Oscar Isaac's brother playing his body double.
Yeah.
And just the way they got to play that was really cool. I loved Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if I recall correctly, it was like the opposite way of what you thought it was gonna be, right? Like we'd been with Mark most of the time, but it was actually. I forget.
We were with Steven. Steven was the British version. It was kind of the fumbly, quiet guy, and he was the one protecting Mark from the past.
But it was just that one. It was like you thought it was going to go with the one brother dying, but it was actually the other way around. It it blew
Yeah.
your perspective of what had already happened in the series. So
See, I didn't even catch all that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I 100,000% hope we see a lot more of her, or at least some more of her, and not the way we saw more of Peggy Carter in Multiverse of Madness more. But I loved, blanking on her civilian name, but when she turns into Scarlet Scarab, his wife or his ex-wife, I thought that actress was fantastic. I loved what she did. I loved when she allows Hippo to imbue her with her powers, and I thought that was really cool.
Layla?
Layla, yeah. I thought the giant gods fighting around the pyramids was a little ridiculous. Like Sean was saying earlier about like the big knockdown drag out fight, but the way they tied it into what the way heroes were doing on the ground, I thought was kind of cool. And yeah, the whole, the mental aspects of it, the therapy of it all, I thought was really interesting. And I thought some of the action sequences are really cool. So, yeah,
I did like that aspect, like when there were times where you didn't know if he was like in an actual situation or if he was inside of his head and if he was like just fucking losing his mind. Those parts I did like. Sean?
I mean, I liked first off, Oscar Isaac, this was like a great showcase for him. And he sold me on the character. I love the way that he played both parts. And I was impressed even like, I love that they have those moments. Like the one that I can think of really quick off the top of my head while you guys were talking was that, it was like the cake truck that he ended up in. And I love how he keeps blacking out and he'd end up somewhere else, and then he hears the voice and he has to react to the stuff, and he's reacting to it not knowing how he's doing these things. So it's like that made it an interesting story in and of itself, because that premise, it's got that Jason Bourne vibe about it, but it was even more interesting in some ways to me because of the superhero angle on top of it all and stuff. And then I also liked how it could also turn into a horror movie another minute. Like 1 minute he's in the elevator, the doors are starting to close, and all of a sudden here's Khonshu running down the hallway after him, and he's screaming, and then the old lady shows up behind the doors and all that. And so it had interesting, it would go into different genres.
I got to jump in real quick too, because I just remember the fucking hippo was awesome. So
yeah.
So and Ethan Hawke being a bad guy was an interesting take, because I've never seen him play a bad guy before, and the way that he did it with being like the cult leader sort of a deal and all that, it was kind of like that kind of shit freaks me out in and of itself. So what? Go ahead.
Just on that real quick, the fact that the show starts, was it the opening scene or the closing scene of the first episode? I think it's the opening scene where he's like smashing the glass and putting it in his like leather slippers.
Sandals,
I was like, I started watching this with my mom, and I was like, Mom, I have no idea where this is going to go, so I apologize. It's weird.
Yeah, it's that old pendant.
But I like that, and I like how they're in that like European village, and suddenly, Steve is there like, I got to get out of here. And every time he turns someplace, it was like a zombie movie. There's more people coming after him because of the influence of Ethan Hawke's character and stuff. And like, as it got into the mental health stuff, like Jesse was talking about, yeah, like I remembered, I completely forgot about the scene where he protects him and that, the whole, the bit and the family bit. And that, I was like, yeah, that moment actually, that was a, heavy moment that I completely forgot about, because the first episode usually sticks with me on everything I watch, and then as the series goes on, I sometimes lose track of what is what. But for the most part,
well, for the most part,
he enjoyed it.
it could be fun.
I'm guessing. There he is. Maybe.
Yeah, we lost you there for a second.
Moon Knight is not a character I need to see show up a lot, but used in sparing ways, I think he could be fun. That was my summation.
And I will always take a Jack Black cameo whenever I can get it, Len. Thank you.
Any other final thoughts on Moon Knight?
Give me more Scarlet Scarab.
All
It's
right.
moontastic.
Number 7, Falcon and Winter Soldier. Who wants to kick us off here?
I will, because I think this was my number 1 rated or number 2 rated out of
It was your number 1.
Okay.
That doesn't surprise me.
I absolutely love this show. It does have flaws. I'm not saying it's a perfect show, but I love it. I love the dynamic between the two of these guys because like Bucky and Cap had such an interesting dynamic in just the brief things we saw with them at the beginning of the first Avenger, right? And they fall back into it when Cap rescues them, but it's the dynamics a little flip-flopped. And then Cap and Sam just fall into this like instant friendship in Civil War or Winter Soldier, right? Sorry, Len. I like what I like. So seeing these two people who were both really good friends to Cap be so at each other's throats was fun. I kind of wish there was a little bit more of the playful antagonism with them, but I love the way they come together by the end of the series and how they're working on Sam, like the family boat and all that stuff in the end and everything. But I love, if you're going to take Captain America, if you're going to take Steve Rogers out, I like the way they set Sam up in this to take over the mantle. I thought, because he didn't want it at first, the fact that he came to it reluctantly, I thought was really great. I loved the whole backstory with was it Elijah?
Yep.
I thought that was really cool, and how they were able to pay that off, where he got his own entry in the museum and everything. I thought was really cool, and I know a lot of people hate it, but I loved Sam's whole speech. That he's not even intentionally talking to like the media; he's talking to the leaders that are around him, and it just happens to get caught on the news. But I loved that speech. The whole thing is like, I don't have any powers. Like, I just decided to show up. Like, I don't know. Like, he's got, certain training and stuff. But to me, that kind of put a little bit more of like, anybody can be the hero kind of a thing if you just make the right decisions. So I really liked that. And again, I really liked the friendship that came up between the two of these. Were the villains the most threatening and the biggest interest thing? No, I really actually liked their mission, except for like when the characters in the show started to see the leader like starting to kill people and do the more violent stuff, that they were like, oh, maybe we're attaching ourselves to the wrong cause here. But the whole, I don't know, I really liked it.
I gotta agree with you on the Bucky Sam relationship. Like, that's why I kept tuning into this show. If it wasn't for those two, I probably wouldn't even have finished the series. Overall, I think it's got a lot of problems, but the good parts of it, their relationship, getting to see more Bucky and Bucky dealing with what he's done and everything, like, I really like that. And then the name's blanking on me, but Bad Captain America. What the hell's his name?
John
US
Walker.
agent.
US
agent,
yeah.
John Walker, yeah.
Yeah, like his introduction, like, he was a great character. It's like I honestly wish the show had kind of left out the whole terrorist plot and just dealt with them. Like, that would have been a better show, in my opinion. But this definitely isn't the worst Marvel show I've ever seen. Thank you, Secret Invasion. But it just, I love the characters, but the series just lacked for me as a whole. But I would love to see more of these two, and I hope we do get to see more of these two.
Sean, you want to go or you want me?
I'll go.
Okay.
I'm like the douche in this one. Like, the overall terrorist thing, I hated. I had no interest in it at all. Every time I went back to it, it didn't do anything for me. And this is one of those shows that it got hit because of the pandemic, and they had to rework it and stuff. So that is the weakest link, in my opinion, of this show working. The stuff between Bucky and Sam, was great. I love the whole thing of them going to couples therapy basically, and them basically making the therapist like, get out of here. Like she couldn't even deal with the two of them and all that. I love that. And John Walker, I loved that right after we saw Cap give the shield to Sam at the end of Endgame, here's this John Walker guy, Johnny come lately, getting the shield and there at the football stadium waving. It's like, guy's complete ass. But then again, he's one of those villains that's an interesting villain for the fact that he has a lot of expectations riding on him based on who previously had the shield. So, it's like, it's an interesting thing. Like, he might not be as big of an asshole as you think he is, but sometimes he played it up a little too much. And especially they had that scene where he's bludgeoning the dude with the shield, which that felt like one of the most, like, you just literally ripped my heart out and stomped on it on the floor watching him use the shield in that kind of a way when Cap used it in more of like a defensive weapon. He's using it to flat out kill somebody. And that was like, it really shocked me to watch that episode and have it end on that note. But the stuff that I loved actually was I loved the Elijah bits. Those moments were some of the best parts, and they weren't really through the whole series. But I love that, and I love that part where they bring him into the Cap Museum, and they're like, "We wanted you to see this," and he gets to see he has his place in history now. And I was like, that was one of the most, that and him talking about his experience doing what he did was some of the most powerful storytelling this show did. But it's like there's little gems in there, little diamonds in there, but it really didn't. Overall, I felt like it was a little more convoluted than it needed to be. And if they focused on Bucky and Sam more, and the terrorists just dropped that and just have it be John Walker versus them, that would have probably been one of the greatest Disney Plus shows so far.
I am very frustrated with this series because there's things that I loved, like absolutely fucking loved in this series, and there's things that I absolutely fucking hated in this series. And I did feel like it was one of the ones that was closest to feeling like an MCU film, if that makes sense. Just the way that it was filmed and the importance of it and stuff, like, just felt like an MCU film. I like the dynamic between the two main characters. The best part of the series, which none of you guys have mentioned, and I'm probably never going to forgive you guys, is Baron Zemo. Like, that dude is fucking amazing. I love some Baron Zemo. I need as much more as I can get of him. Like, just the candy bits, the dancing, the just like the shit that he talks about on the plane. Like,
yeah.
I just need more of that guy. I loved U.S. Agent. I think that it shows why it's important that somebody that has that shield, that they're, number one, a good person, and why, because of the conflict that Bucky has had, in the past and just inner turmoil, why it was a better decision to give the shield to Falcon rather than Winter Soldier. And to just give it to somebody like, they did with the U.S. Agent. Like, the shield doesn't make the man. The man has to be who he is first before you give him the shield. And then on top of that, when you start giving him superpowers, and it, and they talked about it in the Captain America, the first movie, like, it's going to accentuate everything about you. And if there's certain things like, that aggression or that fear of people looking down on you or whatever, like, that's all going to get accentuated. And I think you saw that in the series. So love the U.S. Agent bit, love the dynamic of the two characters. I love the fact that they talked about the Elijah parts and kind of the bad parts of the government and SHIELD and all that kind of stuff in the history of that. So all those parts I loved. I did not like the whole terrorist aspect. I thought it was fucking stupid. Thought that, all these people having powers was dumb. I thought what they were fighting for was dumb. I thought the fact that they really neutered Winter Soldier, in my opinion, like you take him from this badass that can fight Black Widow and Captain America at the same time and kick both of their asses to this guy that's just being knocked around by these, kids that have this super serum in them. Just made it felt like he's just not the badass that we grew to love. And then the ending of this series was the absolute fucking worst. Like the speech at the end is so fucking cringy that I can't stand it. It's like it's like Disney wanted to preach about equality and bringing all these people together and diversity and all this kind of stuff, and they threw this all into this speech. Yep. While there's just this big giant battle and there's fucking turmoil and cars flipped over and people trapped and who knows what else going on, and everybody just stops to listen to Falcon explain how the world could be better and how we needed it. It's the fucking cringiest moment in the MCU, and I fucking hate the last episode. So yeah, that ruined it for me. But there are parts in it that I absolutely loved, and that's why this show frustrates me so much, because I think it had some really good stuff, and it could have been my favorite series. But I think there's just the stuff that they did with not making Winter Soldier as strong, with the terrorist, and then that cringy speech. Just to me, I think this is a good spot for it. I think number 7 on a list of top 10 is probably where it deserves to be for me.
I'll say this just to the thing I liked. No, I'm not trying to counter argue but because I said I liked the terrorist plot thing.
Yeah,
I thought it was interesting because it's the only thing that really addressed anything other than Aunt May and a couple of things in WandaVision with Monica, of people dealing with how the world was after the blip, after everybody came back. The fact that there was, I found that was it developed the best? No, like I said, it's definitely one of the weakest parts of the show, but I liked it. And it would have been nice to see more, not specifically that plot line, but more things like that in the post Endgame things where people are dealing with the real world of half the population disappeared. Now they're all back. Not to the point where it was dominating everything, but I just felt like it got so glossed over and everything's so much back to normal already. In most of the stuff now that it just doesn't feel like it meant anything anymore.
Well, that's it. I agree with you. It's that's kind of stuff I wanted to see, and I was hoping the series would, I didn't like the way it went. And, I liked one part that wasn't brought up is, in the beginning, Sam's trying to help his sister out and he can't even get a loan. And, it brings up those real world issues. He's like, well, I've been an Avenger. Avenger doesn't pay the bills. It's, for me, the way I think about this stuff, Sean and I have hours of conversation about these kind of instances and how this world works. So actually seeing that addressed in a show was, I'm like, okay, this is getting into the kind of stuff that I think about. And unfortunately, it just kind of fell off after that. So I think that's what makes those last episodes so much worse. It's we started off with this strong premise, good character interaction, but it just kind of, So
well, the other thing about this one too, and they did touch on it at the end of the series, but I kind of wish they did a little more with that. I mean, in Winter Soldier, we saw that Sam was there at the VA and he was talking to people about the PTSD and about coming home from wars and things like that, and coming home from battles. And it's addressed when they do the whole montage and he's there training with the Shield and working with Bucky a little bit. But that could have also been something they could have had as a through line for the show, of Bucky still not wanting to be out there and do that kind of stuff, and have Sam be the one who is giving that Steve Rogers speech to him in his own way, and making it that now Bucky has this connection to somebody who isn't just Steve anymore, and the two of them can bond a little bit better, versus they always had that back and forth like Lethal Weapon with them. And that's fine. It's funny for like, oh, here's this scene where the two of them give each other crap again. But it only got serious at the end dealing with something like that. I feel like the show could have been doing that all along and making it stronger for those characters too. So I like it for the fact it did it at least. But they did have missed opportunities, in my opinion, of how they could have made that even more impactful or meaningful.
Yep. And as long as we all agree that speech was fucking terrible, so
I 1,000,000% disagree with you. That is my favorite part of the show.
I'll say I'm in the middle.
Get fucked, Curtis.
Because I barely remember. All I remember him saying is
so
"you have
bad.
to do," and that was it. And I was like,
it was you
fucking
just
bad.
have this battle. There's carnage everywhere, and everybody just stops to listen to. Tell us how we should be better. Come on, new Captain America. How should we act? Please tell us. Oh, that guy's dying over there. No matter. What should we do? What should we do? Stupid.
The other thing,
Man,
I'll say
you are
really
remembering
quick,
that scene so wrong.
It's so
No,
bad.
I think he's got it dead on. That's exactly how I remember it.
The other thing I'll add in there really quick is when Falcon got to have the new suit and it debuted in the final episode. That was cool. Because I was wondering how they were going to pull that off, and I honestly, for a show, I was impressed by the fact that they managed to make it work better than I thought, based on the comic version.
I like the scenes of him like training with the shield too. I thought that was really cool. Like,
Yes.
because it's not something you just, pick it up and you're able to just do the things you need to do, especially if you don't have the super strength and stuff. So I thought that part was cool too. So
This came out in 2020, right? Or 2020?
2021.
So Valentina started recruiting her team in 2021. And we still haven't. I'm still waiting for payoff on that. Like, that's what I want.
She's playing the long game.
It'll get there. It'll get there.
2030.
US Agent and Elena and everybody else. Fuck yeah, that's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, it'll get there.
No, all right.
Can't wait.
I'm doing this to you.
What are you doing to me?
Please don't read the fucking speech.
I'm reading it. So the senator. Carrying weapons are forcing millions of people into settlements around the world, right? What do you think those people are going to call you?
I'm not the one muting you.
Did you mute me?
Somebody did, but it was not me.
It wasn't me either. I didn't touch anything.
I love you, Jesse.
All right.
He's been douched.
Fuck that, Ben. Do better.
Yeah. Please tell us how to do better, Jesse.
Tell me, Jesse.
Oh, Jesus.
I
They
know
were
Sean,
setting him
I know
up.
Sean's
They were
dying
trying.
over there, but tell
No,
me.
listen. They were trying to set him up to work him and what he did into their narrative. Like, oh, you stopped the terrorists for us. You did this. And he's like, no, I'm not going to let you. I'm not going to be your pawn. You're not going to use what I did to enforce your backgrounds. And
the moment for speeches, like
sure it was.
I mean, think
that
about
the fight was over.
Think about Sokovia or whatever, or think about the end of Avengers in New York, or think about the end of, like, you didn't see the heroes just stop amongst all the carnage and give a fucking speech. Like, that's just stupid. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Like,
the level
it's not the
of
time for it. If you want to do that
destruction-
weeks later, after everything's been cleaned up and everybody's safe, and you want to have a speech, go ahead and do it. You don't do it in the middle of everything. It's just fucking dumb. And then the fact that it's just like
You should wait until everybody's calm and the situation is past and nobody cares anymore, and then go give a speech about it. No. They don't give a speech at the end of those movies. You know
Number
why?
6 for us is Loki.
Listen,
series.
you know why they didn't give a speech at the end of those other events you talked about? Because they were massive terrorist attacks that killed hundreds, if not thousands, of people. This happened where a couple of dozen politicians were threatened.
But the problem
is when that speech happened,
literally
and they saved everybody.
The problem with me is the speech.
Have you met politicians?
The speech was cringe because it was clearly like he sat and wrote that before he went out to battle, and he's literally fucking reading from cue cards.
I don't think so.
That's how it feels watching that. Like
it does feel very rehearsed,
Disagree.
and
Yes.
it feels like a terrible timing for it.
if it had been better
sorry.
written and felt more off the cuff, I might have bought into it.
Listen, Jesse, you fully have the right and the ability to feel the way that you do. What I will say is that I have seen many of folks, besides myself and the Dooch, that feel very much like we did. So I have to say that there must be some sort of truth to it. If a lot of people feel like it was really poorly timed and really poorly acted, there's got to be some truth to it. So.
I'm going to say this because I've seen other people say similar things, and hear me, I'm being 1,000% serious and genuine right now. I do not believe either of you guys or Sean, but Sean's not really jumping on this. I do not believe anybody in this is what I'm about to say, because I've seen people complain about this speech, and most of the people I've seen complain about the speech and what they've talked about is fucking racist bullshit because it's a black guy telling white people off. And that is a majority of the complaints I've seen about that speech.
I don't give a shit.
Again, I'm not saying that's what either of you guys are saying.
Yeah, but I didn't even get that that's what the speech was about. Like I said, I just feel like Dude was saying.
I'm not saying that's what it's about, but
right.
There were a bunch of freaking,
there's people
redneck white guys
there's people
getting mad
anything.
because a black guy was telling people off.
And you know what? If that was real life, they would probably be trying to shoot him because they think he's a Skrull. So whatever. It's people are stupid. But it to me, it just felt like poor timing more than anything. If they did that same scene and they did it like the next day, a week later, whatever, I probably wouldn't have had a problem with it. The fact that they did it in that moment felt terribly timed.
If it was a day later, he's standing at a podium and giving a speech about the events that transpired while being interviewed. Absolutely.
I think the whole point that he was giving it to the people that he just saved who are trying to manipulate the situation is exactly where it needed to happen.
Okay. So,
and the whole point of
good thing he had his cue cards in his wings.
Okay.
Number 6.
Sean, you get the last words.
Go ahead. Just if you want to jump to the DCEU for a second, at least in the case of this speech, it wasn't nearly as stupid as the moment that Superman kisses Lois Lane and what looked like a literal atomic bomb blowing off and it blowing up in the middle of the metropolis. And there's still people that are under rubble probably for weeks. But no, Superman's got to get a little action on the side, and they have that ridiculous cringe moment. So, I mean, I'll take the speech over watching my boy in blue having to have a moment of nookie with his girl, because there she
Topps
is.
trading card. Time out for love.
Yeah, we've got a comment from a
Rooftop
Lynn LaGuardia. He says the content of the speech was just and great, but the timing of it and the way it happened was unnatural. I agree, Lynn. Thanks for breaking our tie here. And you are amazing. Number 6, Loki series. And I believe Dooch had this the highest. So, Dooch, why don't you kick us off here?
This was my highest?
You had it the highest out of the 4 of us ranking.
Oh, out of the 4 of us.
Yes.
Yeah, it was, I love the character of Loki. It's another show that, for me, in a lot of ways, it's like Miss Marvel. Like, I don't necessarily like where it ended up, although obviously it was set up to be for a season 2, which is coming, thankfully. But yeah, I really felt that this was the show that really pushed us into the next phase, revealing Kang. Sylvie was that actress was great, and I love Owen Wilson. So it was one of those. It was back when these MCU shows still for me were must watch, every week, and I still think it needs season 2 to wrap up a lot of stuff. But I really like the story that was set forth. I would have liked to see more Loki and names blanking, but Owen Wilson's character, that was, Mobius. I would have liked to see more with them together. but still, at the end of the day, it was one I enjoyed all
They
the
did
way.
have a pretty good dynamic between the two of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they split really quick, and it
Yeah.
became him hunting him down again. But yeah, and watching Loki try and get it on with himself, that was fun. And is it really cheating if you make out with a variant of yourself? Like that's just self love.
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess. I'll give you self-love.
Sean, thoughts on Loki?
This was not one that I was excited about because I don't know. It like when somebody says they're going to do a Loki this or that, that's not like I like him in the confines of being in things, but not as his own show.
Mm-hmm.
But then it was a surprise to watch it and go, oh, this is what they're doing with it. And I kind of dug that every time that he thought he could get, like he could get ahead of it or he could get out of it, there'd be some reason that it would like neuter him again. And he's a character that is fun to see that way. Like, I don't want every villain to be that way, but he's a great one to play that, like, give him an inch, pull him back, and then just watch him be all frustrated and this and that. But I agree. The Owen Wilson bit, when they said he was joining the cast, I was shocked because I would not have expected Owen Wilson to be in the MCU in any way, shape, or form. And I actually really liked his character. And Sylvie, I liked her character quite a lot. The episode where they did the crocodile Loki and the little kid Loki and the old version, I really dug that one. That was probably one of the strongest episodes of the entire show, and I love that they went there and they gave him the old Jack Kirby, the older Loki. They gave him the Jack Kirby legit, like this is how they would have looked in the 60s making a movie like this. And I got a kick out of that, and his performance was great too. What's his name? He was in the Star Wars movies, some of the more recent ones. But and the one thing for me was like that the reveal of Kang and the way Jonathan Majors played him on this show had me worried about how Kang was going to be. I get that he was a variant and all that stuff, but the way that he played him in this made me go, I hope to God this is not how he's going to do it the rest of the time, because I just got so tired of him chewing on apples. So, overall though, this won me over more than I expected to, because I did not go into it with the most like excitement out of any of their series.
You want to go, Jess, or you want me to?
I don't know. My computer is having some problems.
All right, I'll go.
My screen is blank.
I enjoy. So first of all, I was looking forward to this because I think that Tom Hiddleston does an amazing job as Loki. Like before the MCU movies, I probably wouldn't have given two shits about the character of Loki, but just the way that he plays that character, the fact that you can love him 1 minute and think that he's just, doing good, and then the next minute you see him backstab somebody and you're like, damn it, just when I thought you were doing the right thing, and then you do something shady again, like you scoundrel. So I love the way that he plays that character. So I was looking forward to this series. I think that the dynamic between him and Sylvie was really cool. I liked the Owen Wilson's character, the missed minutes, the whole the whole way that they explained how like the diversions in the timeline occur, and how the branches form. I thought was a neat way to kind of explain that and just show it visually how the timeline can change with all the variants and stuff. Mm-hmm. I think how they had basically convinced everybody within that area that they were doing the right thing, but really it was Kang kind of setting things up like to manipulate all of them. I thought it was good. I don't know that it was the best series. It wasn't the most action packed. It wasn't the funniest. It wasn't the one with the best characters, but it was just solid all the way through. I felt it, at the time, I felt it really set up what we were going to see for the next movies. I figured we were going to be like fully ingrained in the multiverse after this. And then it kind of fell flat, I thought. because I thought this was going to be like this, and then all of a sudden we're going to get teases for, Fantastic Four and X-Men and mutants and all this kind of shit, and then it was just like nothing. So I thought there was going to be more of a payoff after the movie or after the series. But I thought the series as a whole was solid all the way through. There was nothing that I thought was overly great or overly terrible. But I enjoyed it. Jesse?
Still having issues?
Still not there with us, Jesse?
Welcome, Drunk Gizmo. Thanks
All
for
right.
joining us. Looks like we're going to move on.
Anybody else have anything to say about Loki while we wait for Jesse?
Yeah.
I remember so this was one of those shows that hit around the same time when the Revelation trailer hit. And
Yeah.
I still remember like they used I Need a Hero in this. And when I watched it, I was like, you guys fucked that up. Like, I'm sorry, but He-Man completely stole the show for that song. You just can't use it like that because it was such an odd way they used it anyway. But that's such a minor thing. But I remembered it while Curtis was talking. I'm like, yeah, that was weird. But, yeah.
Jesse, how's it going?
Hi.
Thoughts on Loki, Jesse?
I liked Loki. I thought it was really good. Tom Hiddleston's great. I didn't catch a lot of what you guys were saying there, but Chris, I agree. Like it didn't really go anywhere except establishing Kang at this point, or at least one of the versions of Kang. What?
I think Len is obsessed with Izzo at this point.
Lizzo. I think it was a lot of fun. I think it's one of the most beautifully like set design. I think there's a lot of really cool stuff in it. But again, it feels like it's just part of something. It doesn't feel like its own whole story yet. So, but it's again, like you guys all said, like the cast, especially Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston, just really, and Sylvie. I'm blanking on the actress's name myself, but they did a really good job.
Well, and the different versions of Sylvie too, because they showed her like younger, like as a kid. They showed her like, so there was like I think 3 different actresses that played that character through different, the flashbacks and stuff, and I think they all did a pretty good job.
Yeah. And yeah, the scene where like they're in that kind of like nowhere world or whatever it was called, where all the other Lokis were hiding out. I just thought that was really fun. And when they all like, the President Loki and Punk Loki and all those guys show up and they, just have that big fight in that underground bowling alley swamp chamber thing was just so much fun.
Well, and I love that we got the old or the the old man Loki, or the one that like is more like the old G comics, version that, it was just a fun way to give us that little Easter egg, I guess. So, okay. Next, number 5, Daredevil. And I'm going to start with Sean because this was his highest rated series.
So Daredevil, when I was a kid, was one of my absolute favorite Marvel superheroes. Like there was something just, I love the idea. He's blind, but the heightened senses, and yes, he's got the radioactive material that made him get the heightened senses and all that. But I love how something that would feel like it would be a weakness for a hero became his biggest strength. So this playing out the way it did on Netflix was pretty much what I wanted to see representing the character, because the Ben Affleck movie did not do it right. This is way more the version that I was hoping for. I'm drawing a blank on what is the lead actor's name now. Shit. But I would say that he's the one thing about it that always threw me. Like I always, and this is just me,
Charlie Cox.
Charlie Cox. Thank you. So, reading the comics when I was younger, and this is back like in the 80s and stuff, and then in the 2000s when Bendis took it over, I always wanted to see Brad Pitt play Daredevil because he was always this handsome guy, could always get the girl, and I always even could hear Brad Pitt's voice in my head reading it. So it was a little weird to get over the hump about Charlie Cox, but he pulled it off at the end of the day, and now I'm like, okay, he's Daredevil. It works. Them doing the fight scenes in this was spectacular. That hallway sequence when he's trying to get to that kid is one of the most tense situations that I've seen in a superhero anything. And I love how at the very end he's like barely able to stand up because he went through all of this shit, and that kid's there and he's just like, I'm here to take you home, and they get out of there. It was like, okay, this is perfect. It worked for me. Them getting into Daredevil in Punisher in the second season was so good because he's usually that is a dynamic in the comics, and on top of that, I love that their ideologies came to a head in there, and it made the show even more interesting. Plus, then you have Vincent D'Onofrio as the Kingpin, which was amazing. You even had Elektra in the second season, which that was cool because that was a big romantic relationship for Matt Murdock in the comics and all that. And it really just felt like they understood what made the comic work, especially the Bendis run of the comics from the early 2000s. So yeah, and I like that. Like I said, he can get tired out. He is a human at the end of the day. He's got the height and everything, but he's still a man. And I like that he's you see him beaten up looking and all this stuff. But I love that he's always, I ran into a door and he's blind. People aren't really going to give him shit about that, you know? So yeah, I from beginning to end, it felt like a really good adaptation of what I've been reading all those years.
Yeah. So, and I think I rated this the second highest after you. So I'll go next, but I agree with everything you said there. And so you see, we have a couple people in the chat that, think this is the number one series, and I can definitely see that. I think this is what they were acting like they were setting up with Spider-Man when they did your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, like taking care of, like the normal stuff. Like this is what Daredevil is. Like they even mention it like in I think it was like the first season where they're talking about like the fallout of the Avengers movie, like in New York with everything going on. And like he's not getting caught up in all that shit. Like when you're watching Daredevil, it's not end of the world, shit. It's like street level stuff that's going on. It's real. It's you're dealing with real people, and it just feels way more grounded. It's a slow burn, because there are several episodes where there's like no fighting going on. There's no whatever. But when they do those fight scenes, I mean, to your point, like some of those fight scenes are the best in Marvel. The hallway fight scenes and the rooftop, and then you get in the season 2, the difference of ideologies between him and Punisher and kind of some of their fights. It's really done well. It's not I love that they made this a series rather than a movie, because I think in a movie you would have had to cram too much action and too much other stuff going on. Whereas as a series, you can get to all that other stuff, of him trying to manage his life of being a lawyer with fighting crime and keeping secrets from his friends and who he lets in and how he deals with his injuries. And there's just a lot of stuff that goes on with this. And I just think it was really well done. So, the time that this series started, you're dealing with all of these MCU movies where everything is the end of the world. And so to watch stuff that's not the end of the world, but it's still important and it's still somebody taking a stand, especially when, obviously he has heightened senses, but he doesn't have like laser beams for eyes. He can't fly. He can't, knock somebody through a wall. So for, somebody to kind of take a stand and be like, I'm not going to let this kind of shit go down in my city. Like in my neighborhood, I'm going to take care of business. Is just really cool. So yeah, I also really enjoyed this whole series.
I want to piggyback real quick on one thing you said about the series, because Daredevil and, in my opinion, Spider-Man even, although I don't know how that would work as a TV series for a live action or whatever, but watching this, I was so happy it was a TV series, because the thing about Matt Murdock is you need that build up. Like, I love how even in the first season of this, he's still in the black outfit. He's literally like Daredevil year one kind of look, and he finally has I forget the guy's name with the buzzsaws on him and stuff. He's like, hey, can I get you to do this for me? And then he gets the freaking suit finally, and it felt earned. It felt like, because like with all this shit you see him go through, and again, that's why it worked for me as a series. All the shit you see him go through, it's like, you better get some freaking armor on you, dude, or else you're gonna die. Like,
it's funny you say that, like with the black suit and all that, because I got like 1990s TMNT vibes when I first started watching this, because it was like he would come out of the shadows, take out the lights, like beat everybody up, do whatever he need to, and then he was gone. Like he was like a shadow, like before, like when the Turtles were trying to fight crime but not let anybody know that they existed. Like this felt like that to me.
Agreed.
All right, Jesse or Dooch, who wants to take next?
Hey, Jesse.
I don't want to get muted again, so
Don't read any shitty speeches.
He's gonna pull the Dufresne for the next few episodes, and I might get banned.
I think this show is great. Charlie Cox is great. The cast, everybody's awesome on this show. The fight scenes are great. The build up, the suspense. Like, I like that it's a show. I agree with everything you guys are saying. There's too much excess in all 3 seasons. Too much stuff that is just extra that I didn't need. Like, I'm one of those people that if a show is 58 minutes, 42 minutes, 42 minutes, 33 minutes, like, I'm fine with that if those 33 minutes are worth it. I'd rather have a shorter episode than a bloated episode giving me extra stuff just to fill the time slot. Not saying that always when they do shorter episodes is it good, but I'd rather have it good and short than long and boring. Especially the first 2 seasons, there's so much extra stuff. But that said, Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin, and I'm blanking on her name that plays his love interest. They're freaking great.
Karen Page.
No. Kingpin.
The woman that runs the art gallery.
Vanessa.
Oh,
Vanessa.
Vanessa.
Rosario Dawson's amazing, as Len said, as night nurse. Like, that's I thought that was really interesting too, like how she would patch him up and stuff. Like, that was cool, because you got to think, like Sean was saying, like, he's a human. He's not like he doesn't have super healing and stuff. So that was a cool aspect. And she's like flat out saying it, like the first time she sees him, she's like, you can't keep doing this,
right?
I just thought it was really cool, and like the tension with him and Foggy, and the way Foggy kind of connects with that old flame of his from college or law school or whatever, and the way they turned that story around with, like, it was really interesting to me. The way they bring in Elektra and Punisher and some of the other characters in the Defenders, I thought was really cool in this series. It's definitely one of the best overall shows. I just think there's some stuff that could get trimmed out of it to make it better. But yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, I can see that. Dooch?
This is another one that I have never watched, but
oh wow!
Why did you even do the show?
Curtis made me. I'm legally his now, according to.
I mean, OffWorld in general.
So, but I ranked it the highest of the shows that I haven't seen, because I've heard for years how great it is. And I loved him in She-Hulk. So, There you go.
Yeah, if you loved him in She-Hulk, you would love this series. But so basically, if you had seen this had a chance at being, in the top 2 or 3.
The
Is what you're
world
saying.
may never know.
Yeah. Okay. I will say the last 4 that we have, each one of us rated them very high. So there's not like any of these top 4 that like somebody had low or whatever. We all agree that these next 4 are, pretty much the best ones. So coming in at number 4, we've got What If, and looks like Dooch, you rated. Nope, wait a minute. Sean rated this the highest. We'll start with Sean again.
This is one of those shows that I wasn't expecting much out of, and my daughter actually really gets into this stuff with me, depending if it grabs her attention too. And this was one that every week we had to sit down and watch it together, and she got mad if I watched it without her, because I do this to her where I do the, well, what if this happened and what kind of story would that be? So we got to see it playing out the way it played out in this series, and she got such a kick out of the zombie episode. Like that one, just I don't know why it just really got to her, and it's like from that point on, she really wanted to watch what else was going to happen with this show. I love seeing the Captain Carter sequence because she is a character that I love from the movies, and I love that they gave the chance to have her become Cap in this version instead of it being Steven. I mean, the Hydra Stomper armor is freaking cool. I would say, like, at the end, it was interesting that they actually went there to make a team. I wasn't expecting that. I figured these were just going to be one-off stories and stuff, so in some ways I didn't need the team part. But you have these episodes, like one of the best, in my opinion, was the Doctor Strange one, where he kept trying to redo everything, and he eventually led to nothing, which was, like, I remember sitting there going, wow, like, that was powerful, and it's animated, and this is how it worked. It's, yeah, again, hardly any expectation going into it. I was even like, oh, it's animated, and that made me actually less even interested. But then once I got into it, I'm like, holy crap, this is must-watch viewing.
Okay. Next. Who wants to take next?
Yeah, it's I always enjoyed the What If comic series. Like, it's not one I'd pick up regularly, but if it was a What If with characters that interest me, I'd grab it. And I just like seeing these alternate realities and throwing them in animated form, single episode each. I'm like, this is perfect. You just a quick window into these other worlds, have a little fun, and get out. The only downside to the series for me was the fact that at the end they wrapped it up into the team. And I kind of felt that was coming about halfway through, but I was really hoping they weren't going to, because I think it just plays better if it is just these what if scenarios. But it's a minor complaint, but everything else was really enjoyable. Probably my favorite out of there would either be the zombies episode, or just because it was just seeing your guys in this typical horror movie type fashion, or honestly the one with Thor in it, where he's without Loki there and just him being the party boy. Like, it's just a lot of fun. Those are the standouts to me, but it was very enjoyable throughout.
Jesse, you want to go or you want me to?
Go ahead.
I liked it. I kind of went into this with very low expectations because I'm just not a big animated guy, number one. And I've always kind of seen the what ifs as these, kind of single one-offs that, don't really relate to the whole. And I started watching it and I was enjoying each one of the episodes. Like, I would watch it and go, okay, that was kind of cool. I liked how they did this and that. And it seemed like as it went along, the stories were getting better. And then when I saw them start interlinking some of the stories to some of the others, I was like, okay, what's going on here? Because these are actually connected, and what's going on? And then by the time you get to like the zombie episode, I was like, this is getting fucking cool. And So, and then to see some of that stuff then roll into like Multiverse of Madness and the rest of the MCU, I thought was really awesome. So yeah, I mean, all in all, I thought this was a very solid series. I don't know that there was any one of them. I think maybe the Star-Lord one I didn't like as much. But the rest of them I thought it was interesting to see the Thanos one where Thanos is like, this good guy part of the Guardian and stuff.
That's the Star-Lord.
That's the Star-Lord one.
Oh, is it? Okay, I thought that aspect was good. That Thanos aspect was good.
That is the
I just
one.
didn't know. Yeah, I don't know. Not having Peter Quill was kind of I don't know.
I just hated the fact that like if T'Challa had gone to space, everything is perfect now.
Yeah.
Like,
Wasn't there something with Killmonger? What was the one with them? Where he wasn't there one with Killmonger in it?
Yeah, there was.
Where he's like Iron Man or something.
Iron Man takes him under his wing and then he betrays him.
Yeah.
He becomes Tony's protege.
Yeah, that one I thought was really good too. But I think that out of all the characters in the whole series, I think the zombie Scarlet Witch was pretty fucking badass. Like that was like, you don't want to fuck. She was on a mission. Like she was angry and you don't want to be in her way. So yeah, that was really cool. But yeah, all in all, I think it was just a solid series. I enjoyed it.
I really liked it. The overall animation style I thought was really cool. It had some stuff that kind of evoked some of the Clone Wars stuff where it almost looked like hand painted or chalk over top of the CG. I just thought it was a really cool overall look. One of my favorite episodes were the ones with Black Widow when she's like surviving in the world on her own. I thought that was really cool. The way, like the way she's in this picture here, where she's got like armored up and she's got. I thought those were really cool. I think Lake Bell did her voice in that, and I thought she did a really good job. I mean, she did her voice, I think, in all the episodes a version of Black Widow showed up in. But I really liked that take on her, kind of like last man standing thing. But I think this comes as no surprise to anyone who knows me. Captain Carter was everything. The fact that, like Sean said, that they got to see Peggy, the way they had her take the serum and become Captain Carter, not Captain Britain, Captain Carter, was really cool. I really liked that character. So when they did roll her into Multiverse of Madness, I was excited for about 5 seconds until she got chopped in half. And the fact that Haley Atwell has now actually come out and said that she did not think that served the character well. I don't care what multiverse it's in. The fact that she was not thrilled with it either makes me very happy. So hopefully we get to see more Captain Carter, whether it's in animated form or some version of her in the live action again. I would be very happy.
See, and I thought the best part of Captain Carter was that she got chopped in half. So just slight difference of opinion, but dude,
right.
Curtis got a Curtis.
Oh, you scared Jesse off.
He's back.
He's back.
He's back.
Hey, Jesse, you want to see what's at number 3?
Jesse, just so you know, Len says, Maul came back from that, so you never know. Maybe she'll get a robotic lower set of legs. Dooch. Oh, you did it. Wait, you already did yours?
Yeah,
I can do this all day. No, the fuck you can't, because you just got cut in half 2 seconds after you said that. Why even bother? Why even bother? I would have rather seen Tony get cut in half.
Number 3, Curtis.
All we need is for this guy to say a word and you're dead. Fucking dumbass.
Yeah.
All right, number 3, She-Hulk.
Wow.
All right. I like it.
I'm pretty surprised by it being
I'm very happy by this.
We all rated this fairly high, which is going to maybe upset a few people, but in this group of 4, we all liked it. So
Screw them.
Yeah, screw them. It looks like Dooch actually rated this the highest. So Dooch, take it away.
it was just a fucking fun series. Like, I really enjoyed. I'm terrible with actors' names throughout this whole episode, but the girl who played She-Hulk, like, I really liked her, and I liked the fact that it wasn't. I know most people didn't like it because it wasn't just a female Hulk, and she had her own issues and her own. She didn't have the control issues that Bruce had, but she had different issues, and I like that. Like, I don't need the female version of a superhero to be that, exactly the same, but with boobs. So I like that she was her own character. She had her own issues, and just the cast was stellar. Her secretary and Titania, and you got Daredevil in there. Abomination coming back. Like, it's one of those shows where I had so little uh, expectation for it because I never followed She-Hulk in the comics to where I could just sit back and enjoy it. And it was a solidly well done show. I love her fourth wall breaks. It's one that I just enjoyed from beginning to end. A very solid show.
I'll jump in next because out of the four of us, I rated this the lowest, but I still thought it was a really good series. So I'll just kind of throw out some of my takes on this so that then we can finish on a positive note because that's what we do here. I felt like initially the fourth wall breaks were kind of cringy, like they felt forced in the first couple episodes. Like I was like, it just felt like. And I know that she does that in the comics, so it's not like they're stealing from anything, but it felt like a bad take on what happens in Deadpool. Like it just not feel like I was connecting with it. As it went along, I thought those got better, and I thought like the one where like she climbs through the Netflix screen and shit, like that was genius. The whole thing with the Kevin Feige and all that, like I thought that was all great. I had a lot of fun in this series. It wasn't anything that was like, blew me away. I think the only thing that kept me from rating this higher, if I'm being honest, is that the ending didn't have quite the payoff that I would like. Not even that it needed a big giant fight scene or anything like that, but I just felt like the way they ended it was a little strange. With like the Hulk just shows up and now he's got a kid and there's no explanation, and it's just like the whole Abomination shows up and you think they're gonna fight and then they don't. It's just kind of weird. But the entire series, each episode that I watched, I enjoyed. I had a good time. I laughed. I thought the parts with her and Banner as the Hulk, I thought were really cool. The parts with her as a lawyer were funny. So yeah, I just had a good time watching it. I didn't have very high expectations going into this. I was just going to take it for what it was. And for what it was, I thought it was enjoyable. So.
Jesse.
Go for it, Jess.
Okay. I really like this show. Sean introduced me to the She-Hulk comics that Byrne was doing in the 90s. I always got a kick out of the covers. I thought the art was great. So when obviously some of that stuff, just with the way culture and stuff has shifted since then, wouldn't make it into the show. I feel like they captured a lot of that playful humor that the comic had. And I thought it was really great. I agree. I love the actress. I love the way they had, like you were saying, her and Bruce interacting, and like all her side characters, like her other friends, and her family. Like when she gets the powers, and her mom and dad are just like, "Oh, can you carry these crates down to the basement?" Like I just thought that was fun. Yeah, it wasn't like the best show for like just cool action Hulk destroying stuff, but like I've seen Hulk destroy stuff. Like I like that this was different. And yeah, the whole ending I thought was fun. it wasn't what I was expecting. The whole, literally, like every time they set up the next thing in the last episode or whatever, like it subverted expectations. It's like, oh, the douchey man baby guy is turning into a Hulk. They're like, no, we're not going to have this fight. And like Hulk just randomly shows up to save the day. No, we're not going to do that. Like I thought that was really fun, because it goes against like what we've talked about a couple of these things where, oh, it always ends in like the big knockdown drag out, and I like that this like intentionally did it. It was winking at the audience, and yeah, Hulk showing up with his son at the end. I mean, Curtis, you have some kids, so I'm pretty surprised you don't know how that happened. But
I know how it happens. I don't know how it happened with the Hulk.
No, I agree. Like I mean, it's, it feels like it's teasing something that we may never get a full explanation for. And I've never really read the Planet Hulk or World War Hulk, whatever that storyline comes from, to really have a strong opinion or being attached to the character. But I thought the special effects were great. Especially when you saw some of the behind the scenes and you see there was actually like a 7.5 foot tall woman that was like doing some of like the on camera like costume like set stuff, like walkthroughs and stuff. And was it perfect CG? No, but I mean, it's a green person. It's, especially on a show, it's never going to be perfect. But I thought it was a lot of fun.
Okay, I got to throw something out there that I forgot to mention too. So there was, while this series was airing, a lot of people that were very upset with this series. Like there were people that, just were up in arms, different things. The fact that it's a female version of the Hulk, which is not like they didn't just come up with that idea. Like this has been in the comics for a while. It's not like they just made the Hulk into a female or something. The episode with the whole twerking at the end, like there was a lot of people hating on this series without even, I feel like, watching the series. Right. And that's not fair. But at the same time, the series also did this thing where they like poked fun at people that would be hating on this series. I didn't think that was like, that felt childish to me too. Like, I just feel like if you're going to watch it and you like it, great. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But just the poking back and forth from the people that weren't even watching the show to Disney then throwing in these things to poke at the people that aren't watching the show. I guess like I didn't feel like that part was necessary. It didn't add anything to me. And if anything, I just felt like you're letting those internet trolls drag you into the mud with them. And you don't need to do that.
See, but that's the funny, I thought it was hilarious. I'm completely opposite of you on this, Curtis. And the fact is that they would have had to have done that before the internet even complained about it.
Yeah, I mean, so when you make a female-led series, that's going to happen.
Out before it even aired, because they knew exactly what the trolls of the internet were going to say and do, and that made it even more.
I just believe that I don't know. I just believe that you should rise above that shit rather than be pulled down in the mud with people during that. But whatever.
I'll counter that and say that, I agree with you. Like, don't get dragged into the mud. I don't feel like they did anything or said anything that was outright. Like, they didn't rip a Silverhawk in half on screen.
Who would do that? That'd be fucking crazy.
They would rise above.
They poked fun. They had fun with it. They played with a little bit, but like, I feel like they did it in the comics back in the day too, because I remember they were like, hey, read my comic or I'll come tear all your X-Men, because like they knew X-Men was getting a higher number of sales.
Yeah.
So it's like she's holding a cover of X-Men on her comic book. It was it a little childish? Sure, but Pepper walking in on Tony, him saying, this isn't the weirdest thing you've ever seen me do. I mean, that's kind of childish too. So like it's all, I didn't think it was.
I'm with you.
Out of it.
It's not like I was offended and stopped watching. I just felt like when I saw it, I was like, that wasn't necessary. Like that's Yeah, I just didn't feel it was necessary. But anyway, I just want to throw that out there.
Hmm.
Sean,
So this one I actually was pretty excited about because I loved reading the She-Hulk books in the John Byrne era back in the 90s. And I think I might have had some of the other the original run too here and there as a kid. But like the thing about this series for me was it was refreshing that it's doing something different at least. And it felt like it never wasn't honoring who She-Hulk is in the comic books because like one thing that this series I feel did pretty well, like Jesse was saying earlier, is it didn't have to be knockdown drag out fights with her. It's like they really did take the mentality of, okay, women would be different in situations than maybe men would. And typically in the Marvel movies, we see the women jumping into the battle just like the men jump in the battle. But in a case like this, we're seeing almost like the feminine version of, okay, I don't want to be angry. I don't want to change into this. I don't need to do that. I want to do my own thing. And I'm like, I appreciated that, to be honest. I mean, Bruce never wants to change because he's afraid he's going to wreck a city, but she wants to do it because it's on her own terms and stuff. And I like how they made her kind of like, I hate saying this word in this term. They made her walk a fine line with that, and I thought it was cool. And I love her dad was Coulson Lattery from Perfect Stranger. I haven't seen him in anything since Perfect Strangers, so the fact that he's her dad of all people made me laugh my butt off. But again, there's humor with how he interacts with her. I love that somebody giving you problems and all that stuff, and I love that bit. I love the whole idea of Abomination having that retreat, and he's trying to teach people to be better versions of themselves. Like that was something that the whole time I'm watching it going, there's going to be another. When's the other shoe going to drop? And it never did. Really, it was always like he's really.
He was great in that. The actor who plays Abomination. Yeah, he did an amazing job.
Tim Roth was absolutely a gem in this for me. Like I kept going, he's gonna do something, and then no. And I love that she as a character in the comics was always one of these oddballs in a sense, because I think it was the fact she was a She-Hulk, or a female version of a male character. So like that was part of the joke in the John Byrne era, where she would have all these ridiculous villains, and she'd be looking at the reader going, "Are seriously, we're fighting this guy on this in this issue?" And I love that they had that with her and that whole group circle she was dealing with in his retreat and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, overall it was just a refreshing story to tell. Tatiana Maslany, if I said her name correctly, I thought she was a great Jennifer Walters She-Hulk. I really was impressed by her, and I love especially like Bruce training her and trying to figure out what is the thing that finally activates her becoming that. And the other thing I got to give this show credit for is just the fact that finally we found out Captain America fucks. So yeah, because I love that ending for the first. Was that the first episode or whatever? They're having the drinks that he finally tells her about the USO tour, and I was laughing my butt off. So yeah.
All right.
Good.
Well, that is She-Hulk. Any other last thoughts on that?
Watch it.
Watch it.
Just have fun.
Okay, number 2, Hawkeye.
Yeah,
and
boy.
This was the number 1 ranked show by the Dooch. So we'll start off with the Dooch.
This is one I actually, if I'm remembering correctly, anybody speak up if I'm wrong, but this was the first one to come out after that initial, because it was initially, WandaVision, Loki, Falcon, Winter Soldier, like those were the ones that were announced. And then this was kind of the follow-up to all that. And this is one that I did not watch as it was coming out for whatever reason. I was, Hawkeye, whatever. And Honestly, I was probably even a little bummed still after Falcon and Winter Soldier. But once I finally sat down and watched it, it quickly became one of my favorites. Well, my favorite out of the series, and it has not been unseated to this day. Jeremy Renner is phenomenal. For all that I couldn't give a shit about him through how many Avengers movies, this series just really made me care about him and his family. And then, getting the next generation coming up with Kate Bishop. And flashing back to the attack on New York and her being a kid during that and seeing him. It just really solidly put together. I forget the bad. What's that mafia group that they keep fighting throughout it?
Tracksuit Mafia.
Tracksuit Mafia. Those guys were great. It was just this great balance of comedy and action, adventure. It kept me interested throughout. And yeah, I can't. Same as I was talking about earlier. Like I'm still waiting to see. With U.S. Agent and Yelena. Yelena's in here too. She's phenomenal. Every time I've seen her, like she's stolen the scenes, and so I'm still waiting to see where all this plays out. Getting Kate Bishop and Yelena and all that. Like it's one of those shows that really set up the future of the MCU to me, and it's really unfortunate that these bits that we got back then still haven't paid off yet. All this time later.
I'll jump in next because I absolutely fucking love this series. I had very little expectations going in because who the fuck cares about Hawkeye? Like he's the least interesting Avenger whatsoever. And then going in and the way they tied it into the Battle of New York, and then the fact that it's basically a holiday storyline. This came out in November of 21.
Yep.
And it's all, like throughout the story, like he's trying to get home to his family for Christmas.
Yep.
And so all this other stuff is going on and he's trying to, protect his family. And then he's trying to protect Kate and get his suit back and kind of deal with some of his past transgressions with the whole Ronin thing. And I just love the storyline. Yelena was fucking hilarious. I love her parts and some of the one-liners that she's got. I thought that the stuff with Echo and the whole deaf community was great. How they really played that up with Hawkeye as well. And it just really felt like I have no negatives about this series. And this is the only one on our entire list that I could say that about. That I have no negatives whatsoever.
And it even managed to kind of give some backstory to Hawkeye's wife and her past as an agent with retconning, without forcing anything. Where we're sitting there going, "Well, that's unbelievable." It's like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." Like, it just packs so full of story throughout.
Yeah, I thought the whole thing was great. It was jam packed full of people. I mean, you got Kingpin in this, you got Yelena, you got Echo, you got the Tracksuit Mafia, you got all this other stuff going on. The one dude that was the swordsman, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, her stepfather or whatever.
Yeah, and you're not sure whether he's going to be a good guy or a bad guy or whatever. So I just love the whole thing, and I actually think that this is just a great holiday series, regardless of whether you like Marvel or not. And this is the one that I've watched the most out of all the series because I watched it when it came out in 21. I watched it another time before Christmas that year. I watched it this past Christmas. I think that this is probably something in my list of Christmas movies or Christmas things that I have to watch every year. I think this is going to make the list every single year. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So. Yeah, I to Joe's comment, I would totally steal Hawkeye's DNA. So. All right,
now
Sean,
I need to go take a shower.
Let's go.
Who wants to go next?
I'll jump in real quick now. So this one, this and She-Hulk were the two that probably got my attention the most because, especially with them doing the design elements from the Hawkeye comic book that came out a few years back. That was actually a really cool comic. and again, even in the era of Avengers, that was one of those, would I read a Hawkeye comic book? And I ended up reading a Hawkeye comic book. So it didn't emulate the comic book exactly, but what it did was it made, like, Hawkeye for me became a character that I loved when he gave the speech to Scarlet Witch in Age of Ultron. The city is literally flying, and I have a bow and arrow. You know, and I love that whole bit. And it's like, it really does examine what the fuck is he doing there. But the reason he's there is he won't give up. He will see this through. It's a mission. He's the guy that he can help, whether or not he's superpowered. He's still able to do something, and he won't stop. And in the case of this, it's perfectly. It's a perfect bridge to showing this is why this guy is an Avenger, even with no powers. He's talented. He's got skills, but he still is just that guy. And I love that in his case, just like Matt Murdock and Daredevil, you're seeing the impact of his life wearing his body down. I didn't until this. I was like, when did he get the hearing aid? Well, and then they explained, I'm like, makes sense. I'm not going to argue with you. You know, he's been through enough explosions and battles that, yeah, I'm sure it would have messed with your ears eventually and your hearing. And like one of the best scenes for that was he's on the phone with his son. Like that moment just hit me like a ton of bricks. I absolutely love that, where like Kate is literally writing down what his son's saying to him on the phone so he can talk to him like it's normal when he's in the middle of all this other craziness. And he his hearing aid was broken in the fight the episode before and all that stuff. And I'm like, this is Hawkeye as a character will always bring the human element to make you hope he gets through it, because he's got the family connection, and he's got there's something to that really speaks to me just as a father at this point. But also Kate Bishop, with her, she was freaking phenomenal. I absolutely loved her. I really want her to come back in something again. I miss her at this point. I really do want to see more from her. And her interaction with Yelena, like Curtis is saying, I was giggling through those scenes. I absolutely love that. I want to see the two of them team up somewhere down the line again, because I think that would be great. And then Vincent D'Onofrio again showing up as Kingpin. It's like, how is that not welcome, in my opinion? That, like, anytime he wants to be Kingpin in anything, let him do it, because it brings something to it every freaking time. And like I absolutely love the sequence of them driving around trying to fight during the drive, and he's trying to help her know
with the
what
different arrows
and what they're doing. So she's firing this and that, and like finally, I love how he has a Pym particle arrow at the end of it, and I'm like, my God, I love how it all wrapped into, like, all of his experiences led to that arsenal in his quiver at that point, and how each of them really did it. It was like, they don't do it on a Green Arrow TV show, but they did it here, and I was so happy they did the trick arrows and really get into how wonky some of that can be and whatnot. But yeah, this felt more like I watched a movie than it felt like I had a TV show on. Yeah. And Jeremy Renner, the first Avengers movie did him dirty. So ever since the second one, and even though to this day I still kind of wish we had Quicksilver over him in that choice, but seeing the movie since then, I'm like, yeah, I'm so happy that Hawkeye's here, and I'm glad that Jeremy Renner's the guy that plays him.
Yeah, one thing I forgot to mention too, because I just think it's fucking hilarious, is the LARPers and like that. That whole thing,
fight them to get his armor back. I love it. Yeah,
and like how they're like, they only agree to help him like if he like loses in battle to that one guy, and like that whole thing is just hilarious.
That whole sequence, and it's like I remember watching that. They had those slow motion moments of him fighting, and I'm like, you gotta tell Jeremy Renner's like, oh fuck, I gotta do this. Like it was so in him to be
Yeah.
that way, filming those sequences that you're just, it's so enjoyable to watch.
Well,
it.
and the fact that you can just tell that Hawkeye has never heard of LARPing and he has no
Yeah.
idea what the fuck
Right.
they're doing, but he's just going to play along with it because that's what he's got to do. It was just, yeah, perfect. Jesse?
I really like this show. I'm with you guys. I don't think there's anything I can complain about in this show other than there's not more of it. It was the thing that really like Sean, the hero side of him was that speech to Scarlet Witch, but the thing that really got me to connect to him was when he's having just that private chat with his wife at the farmhouse earlier in Age of Ultron, and he's like, man, I don't even think these guys need me, and she's like, no, they do, like that whole sequence I just really liked. And and she's like, oh yeah, Banner and like how long have Banner and Nat been a thing? And he's like, what? And she's like, oh, you're adorable, I'll tell you when you're older. Like just like giving them like that bonding, I thought was really cool. So and getting to see this show start off with them at the play, the musical of the Avengers event.
Yeah.
And just him just like being
That
so
was cool.
over how ridiculous it was.
Yeah.
And and I think Sean or Kerr, someone was saying earlier about how Daredevil was like kind of grounding it in reality. I felt like Hawkeye really did that too. Like he's been on these epic adventures. He's been in space. His family was snapped away. So seeing him deal with letting him get to be just this grounded street level hero in this, just trying to survive, staying off the grid, protecting this girl who's gotten in way over her head. I just really liked all of this. And there's some ways I would rank this higher because it is, I think it is a better made overall beginning to end show than Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I 100% agree with that. I'm not an idiot. But it hits all the right like emotional upbeats. It's got the humor, it's got the drama, it's got the tension, it's got a little bit of everything just spaced out just right. And Echo, when they do the whole thing and you see that she's deaf and she's got it's not pyrotechnic, prosthesis, not pyrotechnic, leg, and just her story and how she's so angry about what happened to her. And then we learned that it was Hawkeye that did it. And like that whole dynamic I thought was really interesting. And I can't wait to see where they take
how
her.
she's been manipulated to, basically do the bidding of these other folks, kind of led down the wrong path. Yeah.
And I just thought that was really cool. And yeah, seeing Kingpin come back and trying to, I don't know how or if we'll see what his backstory is. If I know D'Onofrio said he was playing it as if it was the same Kingpin from the Daredevil series, and we know Matt Murdock is in this world and everything. It's just like how I'm intrigued to see more about his story and how he fits into all this going forward with the Daredevil series when that comes out. But yeah, Hawkeye was great. It was a lot of fun. Kate Haley Steinfeld is great. I won't watch anything she's in, but if she's in it, chances are I'm more intrigued to watch it. That whole thing where she's shooting the tennis ball arrows at the bell at her university was great. Yeah, the Yelena stuff, and seeing this other than WandaVision, where you see Monica coming back, rematerializing after the blip, seeing Yelena like disappear and reappear like herself in the mirror in that one episode was really cool. And interesting to see how they play that out. So yeah, and Pizza Dog. Who doesn't love Lucky the Pizza Dog? Come on.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, I mean, the only thing this really was missing was like a cringy speech at the wrong time about like oppression and stuff. But I mean, other than that, this had it all. So
No, all the characters were good.
Even when I agree with you, you got to give me shit.
I just got to throw it out there. I will say, like this felt like I just this past year watched Planes, Trains, and Automobiles for the first time.
Yeah.
And this kind of felt like that, or like there's another movie I really like called Dutch. And that, you know, where it's like you're trying to get home to your family, but you've got these other things that you've got to do, you know, along the way in that adventure. And that's what this felt like. It was like, I don't know, it was just a really fun adventure to go on with him. So
agreed. And I know you touched on a little bit earlier, Curtis, but yeah, throughout the whole thing, you're set up with the stepdad, Jack, you know, we come to find out swordsman, and like you're never sure if you can trust him or not. But then the second like everyone's there, he just grabs a sword and just starts, you know, fighting along with her. And it just like
when her mom turned out to be the bad guy instead of him, I was like fucking shocked. Like that was
so was I. Like
yeah,
I was not shocked.
I was
not shocked the mom was a bad guy.
I was shocked. It was like you can do an entire show about scrolls that can be anybody and not surprise me one bit, but that surprised me. Like, because I was totally expecting that dude, the swordsman dude, to be the bad guy, and then when it turned out to be the mom, I was like,
and then even after all that, like I said, Jack grabs a sword and he just starts fucking defending her, and it's like just those. Every character in this is just so well done that you're rooting for all the good guys by the end of it.
We talked about the LARPers earlier. I like that they come back too, like they're helping them towards the end, like putting stuff together.
Are we Avengers now?
Yeah. Like it wasn't just like a one-off to get a joke about LARPing. Like they you know, incorporated them into the story too. And it was just really good.
And that was like the thing I said about Daredevil. Like at the end of this, Hawkeye gets a legit suit finally, instead of it just being the shield armor he's been wearing. So the fact that now we have like a comic version Hawkeye and Kate being the way there, I was that won me over too, because he is the most unidentifiable of the characters. Like if you knew that him in the 80s and stuff, you knew that look, and he had nothing like that up until this point. And here he's finally got his own
the other thing we didn't bring up too was the Broadway play.
Well,
Jesse brought that up.
Did you? Okay.
There is a legit song out there.
Ant-Man was
now he's not even paying attention to me.
I was just trying to see what kind of jab I could throw at Jesse to see if I can get him riled up.
I'm getting too tired to be riled up at this point.
I like the fact even, you know, they play around with Kate's name, like, well, what should my superhero name be, and everything, and they're doing all these all these variations throughout it, and it's just fun.
I love when she doodles the retro costume on the napkin, and she's like, "No, that's no good." And he's like, "What is that supposed to be?" She's like, "It's a wing." He's like, "A hawk."
Whatever.
It's just fun.
We ready for number one?
I know Len LaGuardia is, and welcome Kevin Dufresne. I thought Jesse had banned him, so I'm glad to see.
Much to Len's chagrin, number one is WandaVision. And this was my number one.
Len just threw his computer across the room.
It was number two for Sean, number three for Jesse and Dooch. But we all had it ranked in the top three. Sorry, Len. You know, I said on the Hawkeye one that I had no negatives for it. And the only negative that I've got, in my opinion, well, two. I got two small nitpicks. One is they dropped the first two episodes, and it was like so fucking weird. Like I had no idea where they were going, and I'm like after the first two episodes, I'm like this is just fucking slow and weird, and I have no idea what's going on. So it was a very weird start to it. But now, after you watch the whole series, it makes sense what they were doing. And then the whole bringing in Quicksilver just to call him Ralph Boner and do that, like that was just fucking dumb. But other than that, like the way that they played out the series, the way that you didn't really know what was going on, and you come to the slow realization that this is kind of, these people are being mind controlled, and there was all the rumors that it was going to be Mephisto and it's going to be this and that, and then you find out that really it's Wanda the whole time doing this, and she's even kind of hiding it from herself. I think she's kind of in denial that she's doing this, and it's all based on her grief and everything else. And then you've got the storylines outside of the bubble of them trying to get in and everything with Darcy and all that, and then the big fight scene at the end with the alternate vision and Agatha, and the whole, how they explained the background with the magic, and I don't know, I just love this whole series. After it, the first 2 episodes where it was weird and you kind of figured out what was going on, I just thought this was amazing. This was a great way for them to start off their Disney Plus series, in my opinion. And they came out with a banger right off the bat. So I loved it.
Yeah,
Next.
Same here. It kicked off this whole television, Disney Plus series. I love the references, the sitcoms, and then all these early shows just felt so connected to everything. You get Ant-Man's parole officer. He shows up to investigate on the outside, and
Jim Halpert.
Yeah, Jim Halpert. Yep. Mm-hmm. But you get Darcy, you get Monica Rambeau, and it just kind of a tangent, but just now that we're talking about these early series, like, they set up so much good, and it really made me think I knew where this next phase of Marvel was going. And now looking back, it's like, man, why did it drop off so far? Why didn't we follow this stuff up? Why didn't we, we still don't know where White Vision goes to, and I know I'm getting beyond the series, but like, man, it's a shame that, they kind of lost their way after these initial series. Like, they set up a lot of good stuff that we still haven't explored. But the series itself, the reveal of Agatha, being the neighbor and her messing, and poking and trying to mess with Wanda, and really getting to see Wanda's full powers that were in there.
The Agatha breaking the fourth wall and talking directly to the crowd was fucking great.
Oh, it's amazing.
That whole thing.
Yeah.
Especially when she reveals herself as the bad guy, and she's like, yeah.
Yeah, and they do the sitcom intro, Agatha.
Yeah.
Like it's so well done, using the tropes and the scenery and moving up through the eras. And yeah, but it's definitely a series that has to be viewed as a whole, because definitely after those first 2 episodes, I was right there with you. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? But when you view it as a whole, it's damn near perfect.
Jesse.
We're in a Mexican standoff between Jesse and Sean.
I'm zoning out, guys. I'm sorry.
We're almost there. Almost there, Jesse.
Yeah, it was weird, but in a way that, like, I loved, that we're coming into this, and it was just like, where is this going? Because, a lot of the other ones, I might not have been able to guess everything that was going to happen, but like Falcon and Winter Soldier was, kind of like a action espionage thriller to an extent. You had other shows, they fit a very not formulaic, but fit a mold of sorts. Like, this one was just like, where is this going? Just with the different eras, the sitcoms, and just the way the actors playing those different time period shows, like, nailed those performances. Because I grew up watching a lot of like reruns of shows that these were kind of based on as a kid. So that was just really cool to see that. And watching this with my mom, like, seeing it start off in black and white, and, it's basically the Mary Tyler Moore show. Like, my mom was just like giddy, like, oh, what is this? And, they do like the stumble around the chair and all that stuff. Like, it was all, she was just in her heyday watching this stuff. And then it would get weird, and she's like, oh, what's going on? I was like, I don't know, Mom, I'm watching this too. But it was just the thing that really got me on this show was the way they really tied it all in the last couple episodes with because I think this came out around a time I was starting to deal with, a lot of my own, sorry, I'm going to get real here for a second,
Do it.
personal internal mental health stuff and dealing with different things and seeing the show like address that stuff, like that all of this stuff was happening because of her grief and her trauma was just gutted me. And I think that's the only reason I don't like it's high. The reason it's not the highest is because it's such an emotionally hard show for me to watch the whole thing. That some of the other shows that maybe aren't as good or as well done rank a little higher just because the watchability is a little bit more there. But yeah, the performances from these two, from getting so little of what we got of them in the movies, to be so invested in the relationship that they have in this, I think just really landed, and just because of their performance together. And yeah, like you were saying, seeing was it Jimmy Woo and Monica Rambeau and the different characters who they set up in other things, and seeing Monica come back, materialize back into the hospital room and realizing her mom's got I thought we were going to see more of that kind of stuff about the blip.
Yep.
And everything, which I can't believe I'm saying blip as often as I am. I hate that. But yeah, great show. I mean, yeah, and the whole thing with Agatha, and you get her whole flashback where you see the Salem witch trial stuff, and you think, oh, these are the people from the town, and oh no, this is other witches that are coming after her. It was just really interesting, a lot of the stuff they did. So I can't wait to see. The only thing I will say about this show, and I don't want to set off a whole can of other worms, but the way this show ended did not leave me or my mom in the mindset of where Multiverse of Madness went with Wanda. So
No, I don't blame this series for that. I blame Multiverse of Madness for that.
No. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This show, the way it ended, I was like, when Multiverse of Madness did their reveal at the beginning of the movie, I was like,
yeah,
what? This does not track with WandaVision for me at all.
Yeah, it was definitely a break. Like, they built up. I mean, when you think about these Marvel series, the good thing about them is we get to learn a lot more about these characters than you do in a 2-hour movie, especially a 2-hour movie with other heroes in it. So, I mean, every other movie that we've seen Wanda in so far has been like a group Avengers type movie. So we only get a small portion of who she is. So in this series, we got to see more of Wanda than in any other, thing before this or after. So to take that time and really build that character and see her grief and see what all that led into, and then, where we leave that character is like kind of night and day from where we pick up in Multiverse of Madness. It felt like they took an opportunity and just really dropped the ball with it, that they could have explained that a lot more and tied it in better. One thing I will say, as far as how this series really set this off, as far as looking towards the future with the MCU, though, I did like the end scene with Monica Rambeau and the scroll and like all that kind of stuff, and talking about Fury and being up in space and everything. Which is something that, going back to the beginning of this, when we were talking about Secret Invasion, like Secret Invasion ends, there's no post-credit scene. There's no lead into another show. There's no lead into another movie. It's just like, it's over and that's it. And, looking back on these early series, especially this WandaVision, I just felt like it made you hopeful for what was going to come next. Now, had we known at the time that what was going to come was Multiverse of Madness, we probably would have said keep it. But anyway.
I got one more thing to throw out real quick, and I won't get into details in case Sean's going to talk about it, but the episode where you have Agatha taking her back in time and reliving all those key moments in her story, I thought was really cool. And I like that they're hinting that there was something more to her before she ever came in contact with the Mind Stone.
Yep.
So hinting at the possible of mutant or some other stuff going on there. So hopefully we'll see some more exploration of that. And
Yeah, that regardless of what was done to her by Hydra, she was going to be the Scarlet Witch either way.
Mhm.
So, Sean.
This is the show that made me get a huge crush on Catherine Hahn.
Okay.
Oh, I've had one for years.
I think that woman is sexy. I love Elizabeth Olsen as well. I think they're both sexy women, but Catherine Hahn's got something that just, yeah.
I mean, you got Elizabeth Olsen, Catherine Hahn, and Kat Dennings in that. So, and then Monica Rambeau's no bad looker either. So, I mean,
and Jimmy Woo. Whew.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and Jimmy Woo for Dooch.
Let's go.
A haircut. There you go.
I'll take them all.
So I mean, there's not much I could say that everybody else hasn't said. I love how quirky the show started out as, and yeah, there is that. What the hell is this doing? And I love the transition from episode to episode, going through the decades and all that. And it took me a little while, but like the whole, it is the stages of grief, and that made those episodes have more weight to them than I thought they were going to once you find that out, which I thought was really nice. And I like, one of my favorite moments still is just that freaking Agatha song. When they did that,
right?
And all of a sudden, out of left field, here's like a Munsters kind of theme, which I love the Munsters.
Oh, it's so great.
Nowhere, here she is. And I killed, what was it? I killed Spot.
I killed Sparky too.
Yeah.
Sparky too. And I love how, like, even off camera, there's those moments where she's talking to the camera and it's like, oh, she's back. Is she the director talking to her? I thought that was kind of cool with that kind of reveal. And I love that they gave Scarlet Witch like a legit suit finally at the end of this. Like, she makes that and she becomes the Scarlet Witch, which that was a really cool, powerful moment for her character. I like that there is the question mark of, is she good or is she bad with the people that she dealt with in this series? And again, not getting into Multiverse of Madness, but I like if they could have that being a setup leading into an X-Men movie even, and have that be something that they pick back up, because they haven't really gone back to it very much that I can remember, at least in the most recent phase. And I think it's something that should be gone back to, because, you know, maybe she will come back, even though Multiverse of Madness did her dirty, and have her be somebody that wants to be a hero again, and have people be like, oh fuck no, like, she took over a town, why would we trust her, or whatever. And I was always one of those people in the reading comics and knowing that she and Vision were a thing, going, what the fuck, like, that is what, you know, like, how does this work? And watching this show, the way that Paul Bettany can pull that character off and see the two, they have this very natural chemistry together. And then on top of that, with the story of them and how this all works and everything, I mean, yeah, it's got some pretty emotionally impactful moments with them, like that whole bit when she's finally willing to let it all go. I mean, shit, that was like that. Like, right after that, I tucked my kids into bed that night, going, like, I couldn't do it. Like, if it was me, I don't know if I could do this. So, and I like that it made me ask that question of myself. That to me is good storytelling. It gives you the chance to put yourself in the person's shoes and go, like, the amount of strength she had to stop doing the wrong thing and be back in that reality, because she literally lost everything. And that's not, there's not many characters you can say that about, and you've witnessed it through all the movies she's been in. So, it wasn't my highest pick, but it was definitely one of the higher picks for me.
Yeah, I think if you look back on our list from 1 to 4, we all had those four films or 4 series very high.
Yeah.
So there's no question that I think those are definitely the top 4. You could make some arguments amongst the other ones in our list that maybe some of us would have it higher or lower, but I think that the top 4, even if you change the order, I think they still would be our top 4.
Yeah.
So yeah, these are all definitely good series, and yeah, this is a good one. So cool. And that's it for Marvel's top 10, which means we are on to Have You Ever? And it is Sean did last time, and he had Action Comics 800.
Yeah.
So how do we want to start? Sean, do you want to talk? You want us to talk about what we thought first, and then you give us your take on yours? Okay.
Yeah, let's start it off with everybody else.
So Jesse, I know you were having some problems. Did you ever get a chance to get it to open and read it?
I think I got about halfway through it before I had to log on for the show, so I did not get to complete it. But I liked what I read. I liked that. I mean, DC they're pretty good at doing these big like kind of benchmark issues where they do these little like anthology vignette stuff, and I like this one where it would be, it's got its own story kind of going through, but then it gets broken up by like a page or two of like one shots. At least to where I got it, it felt like that's what was going on. So getting to see different artists, different writers, and something like this where they get to write in what this character means to them, or like through voices of other characters and stuff, was really cool. So I really liked it. I'll probably try to get back and finish it at some point.
So I read through this, and it's very Sean. Like just as I'm reading this, like everything that I know about Sean and why he likes Superman and what he would like to see in a Superman movie, I know why he likes Action Comics 800, because it is all about the character of Superman, the heart, who he is, and how that was instilled in him. Everything from being young as a kid and the lessons he learned from his father to the lessons he learned as he moved out and kind of started on his own, and how he became a reporter, and it's all these things along the way that made him who he is as a person, more than the superpowers, more than the fighting, more than the crime fight, all that kind of stuff. Like it's really about being that being the most of what you can be, and being an inspiration to others, and just having a good heart and caring for people. I absolutely love this. I had not seen this before. I immediately, as soon as I was done reading it, I went to go see if I could find like a graded copy on eBay to buy. Like that's how much I love this. Yeah, I thought it was really cool. And I just, like I said, it just felt very Sean Scavarna to me. And I know exactly why he picked this. And then there was also the little scene where he's calling home after he left, and he's calling home.
Yeah.
There's like a lady waiting for him, and it looked like a lady. I don't know. It's like a homeless person basically.
Yep.
And they're like, "Hey, hurry up and get out of there! I got to change my clothes." Like they got to get in the phone booth to change their clothes. And the fact that for all those years in the comics, that's where he changed into his uniform, was the phone booth. Just was like, oh, that's just so perfect. Like just a little tiny nugget there that,
he sent me that specific panel the other night, and he's like, "This is great." I'm like, there you go. I'm glad you're enjoying this. So
this it was, I loved it. It was a great Have You Ever, Sean. I'm glad this came up. I really am glad that we do this segment, because it has introduced me to some shit that otherwise I would not have seen, and this is one that was a true gem in my opinion.
Well, I'm very happy with that. Thank you.
Yeah, like I am a horrid procrastinator, so I did not give myself enough time to read this. I did start reading it, I just didn't finish it. I'm guessing I got about halfway through as well. But I think Curtis hit the nail on the head. This is so Sean, and I mean, just over the years, you've already quoted so much of this to me as I'm reading. I'm like, oh, that's what he was talking about. That's what he was talking about. So, but I'm really enjoying it. It's definitely what I've read is good enough that I'm like, I do need to finish this. I just did not give myself enough time today. probably my favorite part of what I read was actually he's like at the train station with Lana and
Yeah.
thinking about leaving, or he's ready to leave, but he's like, you know, basically that like last chance, like, you know, you can come with me or whatever, and then both knowing like, no, this isn't.
Mm-hmm.
This is.
I also loved
goes
from that part where he goes to Metropolis and he branches out on his own. That it wasn't just like perfect. Like it wasn't like he got to Metropolis and everything worked fine for him. It was like he started to second guess himself and should I go back to Smallville and whatever. Like this isn't really what I thought it would be. And you know, because so many of us in our lives when we left home and went to go do things, maybe things didn't go exactly the way we wanted to. They didn't go exactly according to plan. So seeing that for Superman 2 was pretty cool.
Right, especially he's got these, and that's everything I read was kind of saying, throughout the same through line. It's like I've got these powers. Like what does this mean? And it's not just, oh, I go to Metropolis and I throw on tights and I start fighting. Like, no, he's got to get there and find his way in the world. It made him very relatable. And yeah, just like I said, what I've read, I really liked. I liked the idea that him and Lana at the end of the day, it's like, they want it to work out, but they both know that like this isn't what's gonna happen. And I think we've all been there, minus the superpowers, where it's like, okay, that's it's so human. And it goes back to the who is Superman really? Well, at the end of the day, he's that farm boy. He's Clark Kent, and that's definitely the through line.
And I loved the old reporter that kind of took him under his wings. Like I've never really seen any of that.
That's right where I'm at. He just met that guy. So
I've never seen that in other comics or movies or shows or anything else. So having that little extra dynamic, that extra, important figure in his life that also like almost like picked up the torch where his dad left off in terms of helping him become that person he needs to be. I thought was really cool. So anyway, I'm done gushing over the comic that I'm not quite sure Sean didn't write. Yeah. Sean, what are your thoughts on it?
So I love that you guys have enjoyed it. Absolutely. I was hoping you would, because I know Superman might not be everybody's guy, but I've been watching the Superman and Lois show, catching up on that one. And there's also a show called My Adventures with Superman on HBO Max. It's also on Cartoon Network. And it just made me go like, I miss this. I miss Superman being this again, like positive, bright, hopeful, and trying to do the right thing. But like, and I love that you guys are getting into that, the story that goes through. But for me, the vignettes are probably the most impactful moment of the entire story, because those, when I first sat down to read this, I didn't know that's what was going to be going on. I thought it was just going to be, here's an artist doing a couple pages, and then maybe it changed to a different, like later in the story, they have someone else drawing. And all of a sudden I'm reading this story about this kid that's talking about how the first time he ever saw Superman, he was with his dad. It was the first time that he and his dad had time together, and there's no work pulling dad away, mom's not pulling, it was just the two of us. And all of a sudden he's just struck with this image of this super person, and then you're the next vignette is the one of the it's a little African American girl talking about the fact that she's someone that it took her 2 hours to get through C Spot Run because she couldn't read well. But then when her and her grandpa would sit down and they'd have the newspaper there's Superman in the newspaper, and it mattered to her to know what he was saying because it looked like it was really important. And so there's all these vignettes in this thing that I'm not gonna lie, I cry every time I read this book, because it reflects my life. Because as a kid, my mother introduced me to Superman. So there's that, like when I read about the dad and the little boy, it's like I was right there. That was me and my mom as a kid. We would share this. She was the one that when I watched Superman the movie on TV, she's like, at the very end, she'd let me stay up late through the whole movie to get to the end. She's like, just watch, he's going to fly by the screen and he's going to smile at you. And I'm like, no, he's not. And then all of a sudden there's Christopher Reeve smiling, and I'd be jumping all over the furniture for 10 minutes before I could go to bed going, he noticed me, you know? And that was like one of the best ways of learning about this character, is just that feeling of, I got your back as much as I got everybody else's. As fast as I can get to you, I will get to you, and all that. And it showed the effect of the character, not just as the character in the story, but as a symbol for people. Like, I don't know if Jesse and Matt want to mute this part, because there's one part in particular that gets me every damn time. It's in one of the vignettes. It's this scene, and it's written by Jeff Loeb. Jeff Loeb, he wrote for both DC and Marvel. He was in charge of the Marvel TV shows at Netflix. He lost his son to cancer, and he wrote about his son a lot in the comic books at different points. And he did like even a tribute issue where his son actually, it was a story they wrote together before he died, and all these guest artists came in and did a couple pages a piece or whatever. But it's this scene of like a father in an oncology area in a hospital, and the doctor's explaining how, you know, we're doing the best we can, but we don't know if this is going to work. And he's explaining how, you know, I'm telling my son every time we go in here, just take the poison into your body. It'll make you better. And here I am feeling like this isn't doing anything for the kid. And he's having this argument. And I love how the one point the doctor's like, he's so soft-spoken. He's trying to read from the script and make me feel better. He's like, well, I want to yell. That's the thing that makes me feel better. I'm just going to talk louder at this guy. And all of a sudden his son, being so weak, just wakes up, and he's wearing a Superman cap of all things. And he says, don't worry, Dad, they're going to get the kryptonite out of me. And I lose it every fucking time, because I'm like, that is one of those moments that it transcends a comic book. It makes that character turn into something that is believable in a way that there are few characters, in my opinion, that can do that anymore. And there's a few other vignettes in there that really knock me on my ass. There's also a good one Jim Lee draws where it's just a woman who's paralyzed, and I love the fact that they did that because of Christopher Reeve on top of that. But it's just her being paralyzed, and she's just like, I'm pulling myself out of this body. I'm pulling myself out of this accident. And the next thing you see is her on the bars trying to get back on her feet again. And there's a Superman poster. She's like, I'm not giving up because he won't. Fuck, like that's the kind of stuff that when I read it's like, this is what it meant to me all these years, and these writers somehow did this. And that's why, like, if anybody ever wants to know what this means to people that love the character, that is the best place to go to. And you can see not just from a story of Superman perspective, but of how people view the character and what it means to them in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, it meant a lot that you guys, I mean, I understand, you know, time limits and time crunches and all that stuff, but it does mean a lot that you read it, and it meant a lot that, especially Curtis, I wasn't thinking Curtis was going to love it so much.
Oh, that's great.
That was like one of the best parts of my day, knowing that Curtis really enjoyed something I recommended. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm up next for Have You Ever? And I really debated on this. I had a couple different ones, and I came up with one that is one of my favorite childhood movies. Not sure if you guys have seen this. If you haven't, and you take up the challenge of doing this, Have You Ever? My request would be that you try to watch it as if you were a kid, okay? Not as a grown adult.
He's speaking to me right now.
But it is a 1984 movie, Cloak and Dagger.
Oh,
So,
I have never seen that.
I remember Dagger being sexier, but okay.
it is not the
Coleman
Marvel
isn't
series Cloak and Dagger. This is a 1984 movie, Cloak and Dagger, with Elliot from E.T. So it sounds like Sean is not. Dooch.
No.
No. Jesse?
I've never even heard of this.
Is
Okay.
that Is that spacing accurate? Like his name is Dag Gur?
No, it's Cloak
Like
and
it's-
Dagger.
It's like Mr. Gur.
Cloak.
Is there a Dag here?
Just real brief, quick, without spoiling it. Cloak and Dagger is a video game that this kid plays, and his dad is played by the actor you see here, the adult actor, but he envisions his dad as this other character from the video game that's just a lot cooler than his dad. So it's like his dad, but a cooler version of his dad, and it's basically a kind of a spy thriller with a kid, but they don't pull punches. So it's not like, it's not like some, like nowadays you would make it to where like the kid is a genius and the villains are bumbling oafs. Like it kind of, there was parts that scared me as a kid. And I'm interested to see what you guys think of this. So yeah, Cloak and Dagger.
It's like
All right.
Dabney Coleman plays the dad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought
9
it
to
was
5.
Snidely Whiplash.
War Games on Golden Pond.
So
Anyway,
all right. There you go. You guys got 2 weeks before our next numbered episode. Hopefully you can make time for it. I would appreciate it.
Well, bad news bears, guys. 2 weeks from now is August 11th.
Mhm.
I won't be here.
Oh yeah?
What you got going on?
A little thing called PowerCon.
Oh boy.
Is that coming up?
We forgot about
Yeah, in 2 weeks.
So you're not
so
going to be
this
able to
won't be
make the
for a
show?
month.
So maybe we'll have to play around. We'll talk off. We'll talk off live.
Ooh, excuse me.
I mean, we could try to do it on an off week if Dooch can show up, and we could do it when
That's what I'm saying. We'll talk
when
about
Jesse.
schedules.
Okay. All right, we'll talk
We
about
will
it.
let you know, listeners and viewers.
But before the next time we get together, if you guys could make time for this movie, I would really appreciate it, because it's one that, as a kid, really meant something to me, and I'm interested to hear what you guys' thoughts are. So
As much as I love just tearing you down, Curtis, I will give it a fair shake.
thank you very much.
And then I'll tear you
I appreciate it.
down. Anything for you.
And the only thing that's left on the Dooch agenda is lightning round.
And I've got a lot of lightning hitting around here right now, and my lights are flickering like a mother. So I think we're gonna skip that, and I'm gonna get off before.
Can we get one? Can you give us one lightning round?
One lightning
Yeah,
round. Here
just
we
give
go.
us one.
The one lightning round. What do I got? Whatever I see first on my list. If you could have one fictional vehicle as your own personal vehicle, what would it be?
Ooh.
I already know what it is.
Hit it,
Go
Sean.
ahead.
Go,
Go ahead, Sean.
go.
All right, TARDIS.
Oh, okay.
Doctor Who.
Outside the box
TARDIS.
there. I love it.
I am going to say it's got to be the Batmobile, but I'm going to go with the Adam West version Batmobile.
Nice.
Yeah, classic. Jesse?
The Ghost, as long as it comes with Harrison Dula.
I love it.
All right.
I went a little more practical because I've still got a bunch of fucking kids to take to practice and everything. So but I can still do it in style. So I'm gonna take the turtle van.
I knew you were going to say that the minute you said practical.
I thought he was going to go 18 van, but I'm glad it's the van.
It was between those two. Those are the two biggest vans. But the turtle van has cooler features. The 18 van is cool. But at the end of the day, it's basically a van. Like,
Yeah, I mean, any van that can shoot pizzas, that's, yeah.
and if I can launch my kid through the roof to get him to football practice, that's even better.
Soccer
All right.
practice.
All right, guys, that was a heck of a show. 4 hours. Thank you
Woo.
to everybody who stuck with us. Curtis, where can they find us around the internet?
They can find us on the Legend Daddy Facebook group. They can find us on the OffWorld YouTube channel that they're watching right now. They can find us on Legends of Grayskull YouTube, as well as that's audio too, because some people like to just listen and not watch these two. Then you've got the Just Shelve It channel, on YouTube for our Shooting the Shelf on Sunday nights. We got all kinds of stuff. We're everywhere. If you don't know where we're at, just ask. We're on pretty much all the time. So
infecting the internet one channel at a time.
there you go.
There you go.
Inevitably.
Like crabs.
Yep.
All right, guys.
Yes. Like crap.
I wish I had some long, ill-timed, cringy speech for you right now, but unfortunately I don't. So have a great night.
I think Dooch is
Good
a
night.
scroll.